Ibombe!
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 Bola.
Hello, and welcome to Preparation Avengers. I'm your moderator, Thomas Rogers, and joining me this week is Danny DKP Kilpatrick.
Good night, boys.
Paul Pepe Burns.
That's me.
Alex Idafar Hernandez.
Idafy here.
Ibombe.
Taylor Tasty Hastings.
Sup?
And for the first time ever, James Festus Salins.
Ibombe?
If you guys haven't noticed, we recently watched whatever this movie's called, Avengers Infinity War. So I got a few facts for you.
Wait, did you do your intro differently? Because it used to be...
I cut out a weekly podcast with up-to-date impressions on every film in the MCU leading up to Infinity War.
Yeah,
all that's not in there anymore.
I knew something was missing.
So yeah, Avengers Infinity War was released on April 27th, 2018. It had a budget between $300 and $400 million per film, but we don't actually know. So there's Infinity War, and then there's the sequel that's coming out in 2019.
It is absurd to think that on these two films they almost spent $1 billion in production costs. That's probably excluding marketing, too.
And it's
sure.
an exponential growth from the cost of some of these other
The
films.
most expensive Marvel film to date outside of these has been Age of Ultron with $330 million budget.
So that's just crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they're going to make their money back in no time.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, and think about all the characters they had in there. Like, they had to pay some actors some big bucks, so I can understand them having that big of a budget.
As far as how much money the movie has made, as of the time that I wrote this down, which is this morning, they only had the Thursday night opening numbers, which was $39 million. Black Panthers was $25 million on opening night, $27 million for Age of Ultron. So $39 million, it made more than any other Marvel movie has made for a Thursday night showing. However,
Rightfully so.
It couldn't beat Force Awakens, $57 million.
Huh.
Fuck
So
that.
Force Awakens...
kind of absurd.
Yeah.
Right?
After the... I don't know if I want to call... was it... wait, you said Force Awakens?
Force Awakens.
Oh, never mind. Also, I thought you meant Last Jedi. So we're like, after the lukewarm...
I feel
to some
like
people
Last
reception
Jedi
first
was
one.
a little higher as well.
Don't
but I'm not
mention
sure.
Last Jedi in front of Festus.
Don't mention it in front of me.
Yeah, it's a terrible movie.
We're done talking about Last Jedi. This film was directed by Joe and Anthony Russo. They directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Captain America: Civil War. To me, they were the only right choice for this film as far as
I
directors go.
100% agree.
I think that this movie really did have a Civil War feeling to it.
Yeah. They proved with Civil War that they could direct a large cast of characters, and this movie, I think the biggest hurdle that they had to cross was how they were going to do this. And while I think it's arguable that some characters didn't get scenes that they deserve, and some characters maybe got a little bit too much focus, and we have a whole nother movie that will tell the other half of the story. We'll get into all of that later, but I think they did a good job of filling a movie full of shit.
Agreed.
Tasty shit, but shit nonetheless. This film was
Josie,
written by...
You're in the movie?
Tasty's in the movie?
Well, you said tasty shit, didn't you?
I mean, that's fair. This movie was written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. They wrote...
What a terrible last name. I know I've said that before, but...
They wrote the entire Cap trilogy. They wrote the Chronicles of Narnia films, but most importantly of all, they wrote Thor: The Dark World. So... Yeah.
Boy, they fucking made up for that in spades.
I agree. The Cap trilogy was
Yeah,
great.
the Cat trilogy did handle that.
So yeah, that's it for facts. We're gonna... Sorry.
I just wanted to wonder if we should call out, if you have not seen Infinity War, you should not be listening to this podcast at all.
Yeah. We're not going to do that thing where we talk about non-spoiler stuff for 5 minutes and then we get into spoiler stuff. This entire thing is spoilers. So we'll make sure we'll apply the appropriate warnings and all of that stuff, but this is a spoiler-filled discussion.
Absolutely.
Good call.
And if you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you
get up
listen
there
to
and
this.
see it.
This podcast is probably... I hope you guys have a lot of food in you and drinks. This podcast is probably going to run longer than the actual film itself, so we'll see. We're going to go over our cast. So while we're discussing our cast, this is your opportunity to kind of say the things that you want to say about each of these different characters. As far as what their arc was in the film, or how you feel they were handled, things like that. So partial review, partial just cast list. Top billing went to Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
I'm surprised, like, at this day and age, like, Chris Pratt isn't coming close to overtaking him. Is he second?
Chris Pratt. So I have 2 pages of cast here, of course. Chris Pratt didn't even make the first page.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's becoming quite the fucking star.
He is.
Yep.
And he did have real good parts in this movie, but I gotta say, Robert Downey Jr., I enjoyed his parts of this movie, but it felt like he was carrying plot the whole time. He was just, I don't know, we didn't get enough emotionality, I think. I felt like...
I agree. I think that was a lot of characters, though.
It was, and I loved the Pepper Potts. That was brilliant.
I don't think we got enough Pepper Potts.
I always don't think we got enough Pepper Potts.
Same.
So, but I felt like they did things with Iron Man that I didn't expect, like sending him off basically on his own into space. I thought mirrored him flying out with the nuke to attack the Chitauri, right? This was sort of like a mirror of that experience. And I felt like it was interesting and dynamic, and it left me asking really cool questions like, how the hell is he getting home?
I feel like, outside of another character we're going to talk about, I feel like Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr., I think that he was like one of the main characters of this film. I think that I actually thought his arc was good. I like what they gave him as far as like what his story beats were of like putting him in the sanctum, whatever that thing is called. Putting him there and then giving him a nice fight at the very beginning and then putting him off in space. And then he had his story, like he even had a beautiful story there in the middle. He had a really, really strong interaction with Thanos, and he had like tons of surprises in terms of his tech. His tech in this was like the most surprising I've ever seen his tech. His ability to actually be able to go toe-to-toe with Thanos in this movie was like awe-inspiring. The things that he had the physical ability to do with his nanotech armor were to me some of the coolest parts of the movie. So I was really, really, really impressed with what they do with Robert Downey in this.
And I was good with it for 2 reasons. One, I thought that they did a good job of not spending a lot of time explaining it, but rather having it just work and be elemental. Like you could just see it working and go, oh, I see how that suit works. And 2, it matched the comic book. I thought that the comic book, that's sort of where Tony Stark's armor went, and it was neat to see that in the movie.
For sure.
Extremis armor, right?
Well, I was going to point at Tasty here and see if he had some thoughts on that.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's Extremis. It's very reminiscent of it. But Extremis came from inside him. It was literally like embedded in his bones. But yeah, it was really dope. I enjoyed every bit of his armor, minus how the boosters or rocket boosters kind of took shape and worked. But what movie magic? I'll let it go.
I want to say that I loved that scene when he got a giant rocket booster on his feet and just took off into space like I was just brilliant. I thought that part was exciting.
I was totally into it when it happened. I have had some time to digest it and been like, how the hell does that work? But nonetheless, it was dope.
Well, I'm not the biggest Iron Man fan, but I think he had a great arc and great action sequences in this film for sure. Like from the very get-go, like you said, where he's battling in New York, all the way up to when he's battling Thanos. I don't know, he killed it. Like I said, I think he had some of the better scenes in this movie for sure, and was definitely considered one of the main character of this movie.
Definitely one of the highlights of the characters for sure. I think Major Tom pretty much hit it on the head. He was probably the other shining star in this movie, but I mean, rightfully so. It's fucking Robert Downey.
For sure. Whenever he threw that meteor or whatever at Thanos,
It was like that big shipbuilding that he like crushed.
Yeah, it was
him with.
just some giant thing that he just dropped like onto Thanos. He was like just pushing it down. Am I right, Taylor? Taylor, you guys know how Taylor gets every once in a while.
One of the best fucking lines.
One
One of the best lines in the movie when fucking Thanos throws a moon at him and then he fucking tells him, "You throw a moon at me again."
Oh yeah, yeah, that was awesome.
I would, if we're talking about good Iron Man lines, my favorite Iron Man line in the whole movie was, "You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards."
Oh, yeah.
So I just thought that.
When Peter shows up and then the wizard like flies off. I mean,
No. It was when Banner wasn't going green.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about an additional scene. Whenever Ebony Maw flies by and it's Peter and Tony fighting together, and he goes, "Hey kid, there's the wizard. Go get him.
Yep.
Go after the wizard." I love how he referred to Ebony Maw as like talking about Doctor Strange and Ebony Maw, like, go get those wizards.
I also like the fact that they paired him with the magical people so early, because you would think that they would be at loggerheads, and then they turned out to be, which was very satisfying.
For sure. Chris Hemsworth as Thor was our second top billing actor.
Killed it in this movie.
100%.
I cannot believe he's second billing though. Like if you consider like how big his part was, completely understand that. But that's not usually what dictates like who gets paid the most, how much work they're going to have to put in. Because outside of this movie, he's kind of not doing much, not doing a lot. Outside of the Marvel franchise, that is.
I would even say, I would go as far as say, even inside the Marvel franchise until Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
But, his arc in Thor Ragnarok was pretty awesome. But the story that Thor gets in this film, to me, is the highlight of the entire movie.
I agree 100%. Thor was my favorite part of this movie, and he had both humor and tragedy in the perfect mix for me. He arrived, he saved the day, he was the hero that I wanted in this movie. And
I have to disagree.
wow,
Just for the fact Thor was pivotal as a character. There were a lot of his scenes that were very filler, and I would have really liked a lot more story building with Thanos instead of the Thor scenes.
fascinating.
There were some,
But not only
sorry,
that, one more thing about the whole Thor thing. You're seriously casting Peter Dinklage as a dwarf? I mean, come on.
he is a dwarf, you dick.
I thought that was
Yeah, but
hilarious
isn't that
and well
offensive?
played.
Not at all. He was
If it
a
was,
giant
then he wouldn't have
dwarf.
taken the job.
Hold on, let me ask you this. You're like, don't you think it's offensive that they cast a midget as a midget? What do you think he is in everything? A dwarf or a midget, whatever. But like that's what he plays. Game of Thrones, he was cast to play a little
I just
person.
thought it was a little
How is
funny.
that any different?
I
just
thought
it
the
was
fact that he
almost
was
too on the nose.
But the fact that he was huge was genuinely surprising to
Yeah,
me.
I thought that was hilarious.
It like
I'm
took
willing
me
to
a
bet
minute.
he was thrilled for that. Like, not because that sounds like thrilled because like, oh, I finally get to be big. Not that, but like, I'm sure he saw the humor in that, and he was thrilled to be in that role.
It seems like his style of humor,
Yeah.
like in So, but I really enjoyed that moment of cognitive dissonance when there was a giant Peter Dinklage head, and your brain goes, "Hey, that's Peter Dinklage. He's huge," and that was just so satisfying.
Yeah. To take it back to Thor real quick, the slow stuff that you were talking about, I actually... Festus and I watched it twice. We watched it on Thursday night, and then we watched it again on Friday morning. And I felt the same way on Thursday night, but when I watched it on Friday morning, the scenes that he has that are just like him and Rocket and Groot are such important scenes for Thor as a character about how far he has come and how far he is willing to go. Like, to me, he has such an amazing arc as far as, like, they're like, oh, that's a big star. You can't put yourself in front of that star. And he's like, well, I have to fight Thanos. So, yeah, like, if I have to put myself in front of a star to make myself powerful enough to be able to fight Thanos, then yes, I'm going to do it. And there was no, like,
wrong.
there was no, like, second guessing.
I agree that that Thor needed to have at least that kind of a moment where, he's willing to go above and beyond to fucking be the hero that he needs to be. But I guess my main overarching criticism is Thanos himself and his relationship with Gamora. If I think if that would have been flushed out, I would have liked to see more of that being flushed out than I really would have with Thor.
Instead of spending time on Thor.
Agreed.
So I will say this. All the Thor movies had a problem where it was two movies in one. And in this movie, I would argue that Thor has kind of his own little story.
For sure.
But for me, that worked in this movie. But I could see where you'd be coming from, where that effect was distracting from the you wanted to hear.
Especially when he injects himself into the other movie.
Right, when he shows up.
When the Bifrost opens up and then the Stormbreaker just, like, flips through everything. Yeah. We'll talk about that scene quite a bit more,
I think when we get into Thanos, I'll have a lot more to say about that, for sure.
Well, let's blast through this cast list, and then we could get to the review section.
Mark Ruffalo plays Bruce Banner.
I liked it. I'm so glad they stopped. Just the only thing I gotta say about it, I'm glad as fuck that they stopped the problem I had in the first Avengers movie, where it was like, the other guy, fellas, I've got a secret. I'm so glad they ditched that, and they ditched it, and he's such a better off for it.
So this is the first of the characters, and I think I'm going to probably be saying this a lot. This is the first of the characters that I have a hard time talking about whether or not I liked them in this movie, because their story didn't end.
For sure. So I actually want to bring this up real quick. I saw an interview, or I was reading an article or something. Kevin Feige had a meeting with Mark Ruffalo a few years ago, and he said, Mark, what do you want to do with, if you could make, like if we made a Hulk solo film, what would you want that film's story to be?
And he
what
went,
is the journey you want?
Probably Planet Hulk, and they went, no, sorry.
No, he said,
Can't do that
what
one.
journey do you want Hulk to go on? And through that meeting, they had a big conversation about who Bruce Banner was and what they wanted him to do. And Kevin Feige said, I love this idea. Let's do it. However, let's spread it over 3 movies. And the 3 movies that they agreed to spread his arc over were Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and then whatever the untitled Avengers 4 is.
I think that's a terrible idea, though.
Because I think, if anything, I think I know what they're gonna do with Thor, and I just want to bring it up because I don't really want to spend too much time on at least the Hulk aspect of it. I think what the end goal is gonna be a separation between Banner and Hulk.
Interesting.
I don't know about that, but I despise the fact that they're like, oh yeah, Hulk got not even beat up, but like bested one time, and he's like, oh fellas, I've got erectile dysfunction now. I despise that.
But I actually like that aspect of it, because Hulk is a bully, and he's never been put down before. And so bullies, when they run into a situation where they get put down, they turn into sort of children. And I think that that's what we're seeing here, is him having these childish temper tantrums. And I think that the interesting story that I'm hoping for is that Hulk and Banner become sort of adults together and understand each other's limitations.
That's what I'm hoping for too, is kind of the opposite of what Idify was saying about, instead of them splitting into 2 characters, they become one character.
That's my hope as well.
They not like where it's like just Bruce or just Hulk. They are like in tandem with one another. They like decide together to do things. They proceed forward.
Hulk strength with Banner's brain.
Do what?
Hulk strength with Banner's brain.
Yeah.
Hulk is not a bully. He's mindless rage. No, not mindless necessarily, but the epitome of rage. It just happens to look like he's a bully because he's stronger than everyone. Take that back.
And not only that, I do agree
Hulk
with
is my favorite. Fuck you. He got robbed in this movie, by the way.
I love Hulk. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that when somebody like Hulk runs into a wall they can't get through, they don't react to it well.
That's the thing. There really shouldn't be one. So
I do agree with Ted.
He should have been flying in space
in this movie, but at the same time, he was like fucking a complete child in fucking Ragnarok.
I got excited for a minute when Thanos ejects him into space, because I thought, wait a minute, is this their workaround to doing Planet Hulk? And then he's like, nope, he flew right to Earth instead. And I was Heimdall. I'm sorry, yeah. I was like, wait a minute, this could happen, and it was like, nope.
We already got the Planet Hulk story. Yeah. That's done.
Yeah, I know. But I thought maybe they'll just be like, you know what? I know we already kind of did it, but we can just do it again. Fuck it. But nope.
All right, let's talk about Chris Evans and his character Steve Rogers.
Ooh, biggest disappointment so far.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. They really didn't give him enough to work with besides him being that leader role.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Tasty?
That's all I gotta say about that.
No, he clarified that they didn't give him enough. I just wanted that clarified.
And I am sorry, I hate that shield.
Oh, you mean his fists?
Yeah.
So, remember in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when he gets rock hands? How is that any different than him like, well, I got shield hands that just look like little claws.
I don't remember in Guardians
I
of the
despise
Galaxy 2
it.
when Captain America got rock hands.
No, when shut up. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
At the
I
very
need
end,
to
when he's
Chris Pratt made himself
fighting
rock
Ego,
hands.
and he gives he puts big
okay.
rocks on his hands.
I do
'cause he
remember
can manifest them. It's basically
You mean
the same.
Star-Lord.
All right, so here's the deal. I was looking forward to Captain America in this movie more than anything because I thought he was going to die. And I felt like that we were going to get a final wrap-up to a long story that I'm really invested in. And
You absolutely will.
and I may or may not get that in the next movie, but what I didn't get was it in this movie, and that was
Oh,
frustrating
you're
to me.
totally gonna get it in the next movie.
Yeah,
Bucky's
think
going. Set it up.
I don't know if Bucky going set it up per se, but I think what set it up more than anything is that the directors of this film, the other two Marvel movies they directed, were two amazing Captain America films. So I think they have a love and appreciation for Cap that they probably don't have for a lot of other characters, and I think they really, really want to make his story phenomenal to close a story that they have a huge investment in personally. So I think that Cap's story in the next one is going to be incredible.
So in the movie, when they're like, "Get this man a shield," and they're like, "Okay, got it, a shield. How about 2 pairs of brass knuckles?" Like, that is not a shield.
It would have been fine if he
Right,
actually would have done something
but
with them.
how about we? Yeah, I don't know. This was a good way because Captain America also at some point has a shield that looks more like triangular, more like an infantry shield, and
So
it looks
that-
fucking cool. I thought that they
that
were going
was
to
his
build him one like
original
that.
shield.
Yes, I thought they were going to build him something like that because he lost the circular one, and then it would be able to bring in a newly shaped shield. You could do new merch with it. It makes a lot of sense.
My entire issue is after Civil War, right? Tony's like, "Give me back my daddy's shield." And it's like, okay, whatever. And then he goes to Wakanda, where they've got a shit ton of vibranium. It's like, hey, Tony took my shield. Can y'all make me another one?
What are you talking about? That's exactly what happened in the
And
movie.
that's
No,
what should happen.
No, the
Oh, you
same
mean an
shield.
actual shield?
The same shield.
Instead
So-
of
So here's the story I was sad that I didn't get, and that's the story where Tony Stark comes back to him and says, "Here's your shield, dude. Go save the day."
Dude, we're getting that in the next one for sure.
All right.
Tony
But
wasn't on the same planet,
I
so
know,
I can't.
I
and we're
recognize
going to
that.
talk about all this quite a bit when we actually get to our
One of these
focused
days when we make it to the
review portions. Yeah, this is
We
a
got a
long
lot of
past list. It's going to
characters.
take us a while. But it's very clear that this is half a movie,
Mhm.
and I think that what they did or did not do with Chris Evans, I think plays an unfortunate role in how I view this film. Although I do love his line where he says, "I am Steve Rogers." Great line.
That was so good.
That was brilliant.
That was so good.
Best
Great
line in all of cinema.
I even liked how Thor introduced him. Introduced Groot. He says, "This is my friend. He's a tree."
All right, next up is Scarlett Johansson, Natasha Romanoff.
Was she in this movie?
I don't know, man.
She was fine.
Her with blonde hair can
Yeah,
fucking
dude, she got gooed in the face.
go somewhere else.
She did get some goo in her face, and Ghost, that's disgusting. Yeah, I don't know.
I despised her
Yeah,
with
I
blonde
don't
hair.
like the blonde hair.
Hey, though, I gotta say that fight scene
She should have just
with all
grown a
three of
beard,
them, I
too.
know we're gonna get into it.
Go ahead.
The fight scene with all three of them, Cap, Falcon, and Natasha, with Corvus Glaive and his wife,
Yeah.
was
Proxima
dope
Midnight.
was dope as fuck. That's
Fuck
about
yeah,
the
it
only
was.
cool sequence other than the awkward, "Hey Nat, Bruce."
See,
that,
but that was something that I wanted to. That was a conversation I wanted to happen so bad. Was
Me too.
between because Age of Ultron and Thor Ragnarok, they both touch heavily on the relationship with Nat and Bruce. That they just don't give this. They don't give that breathing room. And again, I think we're going to get all that and then some in the next one. But
I hope so, but I worry that there's some focus group out there that they went to and they said, "What do you think of Black Widow?" And they said, "Well, we like when she fights, but all this talking stuff is annoying." And they said, "Oh, all right, well, we'll get rid of the talking part and we'll just have her fight."
yeah. Now let's talk about Don Cheadle.
Let's not talk about Don Cheadle.
James Rhodey Rhodes.
He fucking has aged like shit.
Yeah,
My
he was
God.
bad.
Yeah, but he's
His
kind of
his back
supposed
is
to. His
broken.
back is broken. And
No, the actor looks like he's aged like shit. Sam Jack, I'm pretty sure, is a lot older than Don Cheadle and looks.
Sam
he's,
Jack's
he's
immortal,
a piece
though.
of ace.
The
Don
one
Cheadle, I was like,
positive-
my God.
the one positive that I do have about maybe not Don Cheadle, but the War Machine, you really saw the fucking War Machine in action in this movie.
I agree with that.
I agree with
When
that.
he's like doing the airstrikes.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like,
So
dude,
sick.
that-
he's like out of the way,
Carpet bomb?
Sam, and he's like bombing,
Yeah.
carpet bombing him. That part
I
is
also
awesome.
really love his joke with Bruce
Bruce,
Banner whenever
yeah.
they walk up to T'Challa and he's like, "Are we supposed to bow?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he bows.
That
We don't
was
do that here.
hilarious.
And then he laughs at him. That's great.
But one of the things I'd like to say about him is that for every movie, he's been waiting for his moment to say, "Let me show you how it's done," or, you know, and then I tossed a tank at him, or blah, blah, blah. And he has not pulled it off. And this is the first movie where he said, "I'm coming in to show you how it's done." And man, he just wiped
He showed
out.
him how it's
he
done.
showed him how it's done. And
Yeah,
that was
he was great.
satisfying.
I thought one of the big things, like, and it's a singular instance, really, but with what's his name? What's the Secretary
Ross.
Ross, yeah, Secretary Ross. When that entire thing, and he just like says, "Oh yeah, sure thing," and then just whoop.
He goes,
Bye.
"That's a court
And
martial."
That's a court martial. Like I was like, that's a defining moment for War Machine and Rhodey, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I really enjoyed him in this. I thought I don't much care about this character in general, and this was like as much of that as I wanted, and he did the things I wanted.
Yeah.
Though there are instances where I thought he was necessary for Tony's development
Oh yeah.
to a point, like the whole Mr. Stank kind of thing, and him giving Tony
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
hard time
he needs
after
a
he
buddy.
got
He
paralyzed
does
and
need a
stuff. Yeah.
Next up,
Stank.
Benedict Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange.
So this was like his movie as far as like he was all over this movie,
Yeah, he was.
and he I thought really came into his own as the Sorcerer Supreme.
For sure.
And I loved him fighting with Iron Man because it had always bugged me that they were the exact same guy, and I was like, you can't put them in a movie together because what would they do? They just do what they did in this movie, and I thought that was really good.
Hey, I got a question for you. If he can just open up portals and chop things in half, why didn't he do that to Thanos?
Because he couldn't.
That's one of the things that I find most interesting about this character. We were talking in a last podcast, I think we were talking about in Ragnarok, how Doctor Strange's progression as a sorcerer has gone like to a level
Insanely
that's
quick.
insanely powerful. This movie definitely nerfed the fuck out of him.
I'm sorry,
But-
what?
I don't feel
It
like he
nerfed
did.
him.
I think he
No,
I
he
think he
had-
did a good job going
he
toe to toe
had-
with him.
He could have used a lot of his powers, which, I mean, especially because we've seen him, he fucking took out Dormammu pretty
Yeah,
fucking easily.
I really
And
have to
don't
say,
get me wrong,
Dormammu-
I think there is a definite. I think there's a motion in play here with Doctor Strange. It's just we won't see it until the next movie. But I definitely think, okay, maybe not nerfed, but I think as Doctor Strange comes into this universe and now everything's open, he knows Thanos, he knows everything. I think he realizes how much more he needs to learn.
We can all go take a break now because Tasty is hot and ready
So
for this conversation.
I'm gonna do my best not to personally attack you on this, so I apologize in
I'm going to do my
advance.
best not to personally attack you once you're done, because I'm pretty sure what you're going to say is bullshit.
Oh,
I'm hot and ready too, fellas.
all right. So, he wasn't nerfed in this movie at all. In fact, he went through 14 million goddamn possibilities, and hey, everything that he did was towards the end game. So you can think what you
Missing
want.
the point as usual. Okay.
Exactly. He doesn't understand. Go ahead.
So, for someone who was able to basically... Okay, and this is when he meets up Thanos before he has all of the fucking stones,
Yeah.
right? At that point, it's a lot fucking different. But when he could basically go toe-to-toe with Dormammu and agonize him for Eternia... all of these things, it's not so much nerfed, it's, well, why didn't you do this when we see you can do it? You have used this ability in other ways. And he doesn't. And I understand it's a plot device of like, well, we can't just have him do that. It wouldn't make sense. But, yeah, that's, when Identify says nerfed, I'm pretty sure that's what he's referring to. Not the fact that he's
that's
not the Sorcerer
100%.
Supreme and that he isn't extremely powerful. It's not that. It's the fact that, well, why didn't you do this? Especially when considering we saw it a couple times,
But-
not only in this movie, but in the last film.
Given those
This is-
instances, Thanos also had Infinity Stones that he could
He
have
had one-
leveraged to
he
turn
had-
the tables.
He had one.
And when he
At the
first met
time.
him, after he had the
No, he had
Reality
two.
Stone,
He had two at that time.
Even two. The Time Stone, like...
Power in space.
Even then,
After
Reality Stone.
after he had the Reality Stone, then Doctor Strange had no chance against him.
What DKP said was 100% what I was getting at, and I maybe nerfed wasn't the correct term, but there is definitely a lot he needs to learn, even more so now. But what I do agree with Tasty is there is an end game that Doctor Strange is playing for sure.
Yeah.
well, there is after the pivotal point where he sees the one way where he has to die and he has to save Tony Stark, but. Up until that point, yeah, it's like, why didn't you just trap Thanos in an infinite time loop?
I don't think there was a soul on Earth that watched that film that when Doctor Strange was like, there's X amount of millions of possibilities and there's only one possible solution. I don't think there was anybody that thought that they wouldn't get to that one solution. Like, we are going
You
to
would
get
be
to that
shocked.
solution.
I looked at a discussion on like our Marvel or whatever, and on our movies on Reddit, and people are like, I just think it's fucking stupid how like he saved Tony Stark and gave up the Infinity Stone. What the hell? And it's like, how do you not fucking? The movie couldn't have spelled it out more thoroughly.
Context clues out.
That 100%.
He literally says it. It's the only way. It's like,
So one of the things I'm sorry, Festus, did you want to say something?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
One of the things that I felt about Doctor Strange was that he has to be careful with what he does. His movie was all about how his actions have consequences. And so one of the things I noticed was he only used the time stone once in this movie, right? I want to say he reversed time once. And I think that it's because he doesn't want to have consequences that we don't understand in the course of the movie.
Major Tom and Festus, you guys saw this twice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he use the time stone in the beginning?
Yeah, I think there was just one time that he used it.
He used it for something, which I don't know what it was. And then you're correct. The next moment was he's looking into the million possibilities.
And I think what he figured out is I can't use this power and succeed. What I have to do is to create a situation where success will happen.
Correct.
which we're already like in the review portion here talking about this. But,
yeah, I mean that was kind of the idea, is that during this portion we would talk about all.
But yeah, so it's setting it up for one of two things. In the more likely scenario is that Tony Stark will devise a way to, like, through technology or something, to beat Thanos, and that's why he has to live.
Anybody have anything else they want to say about Strange?
Oh, there was a bit of coming into his own, like the entire situation where
It's a coming of age story.
where it was basically to Tony like, hey, if it's between you and the stone initially, like, I'm saving the fucking stone. And then it was like,
After he looked at all the possibilities, he was like, yeah, no, we can't do
hey,
this
about
without Tony.
that. We're in the end game now.
One thing I
Okay.
liked, and it was a tiny little thing, is that every time you had a close-up of his hands, he had these big nasty scars on him. It was a tiny little thing, but it was satisfying to me.
It was.
So
very
hold
satisfying.
on, are you saying that you think he saved Tony Stark because he grew on him?
No.
Okay, that's what
That's what it sounded like.
No, when he said initially, like, if it's between the stone and you, if it's between the universe and you, you're dead.
No,
he had the exact same disposition.
Yeah,
No, what happened?
I'm very confident. You can never be 100% confident, but I'm very confident that in that scenario where the good guys won, he saw Tony Stark standing when, after Thanos snapped his finger, and he needed Tony Stark to be there. And he knew that he had to do something to make sure that Tony Stark was still there.
That was my thought.
Next up is Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
Really?
I enjoyed him.
Oh,
I
yeah?
loved him.
Yeah, solid
Okay,
performance.
Tasty, you go first. What did you not like about Tom Holland?
I loved all of the spider suit stuff and all of the pop culture references, but shit. Okay, I take back my bet. Actually, I really enjoyed him in
You're
this film.
actually thinking about it. I love this guy.
Like, Homecoming Spider-Man? Fuck that character. This one,
outrageous.
I liked him.
So I loved him sneaking onto a spaceship. That seems totally Peter Parker, and him not needing, shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
This is way out of his league, and that's classic Spider-Man.
But he stepped up to the challenge, though.
He did.
One of the perfect lines was when fucking Stark told him, if you bring out any more fucking pop culture references.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, he was speaking for the audience. It's like, okay, we get
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It did not yet outstayed its welcome. It was one gnat's dick away from it, though.
I was kind of disappointed that he didn't threaten him with "I'm gonna tell May" when he was when they met up. Like,
So Tasty,
May-
I'm glad that you bring that up.
May already knows.
How do we have no scenes with Aunt May being like, is Peter on that fucking spaceship since I
Yeah.
know he's Spider-Man now? Hey,
Well, I
he's
think-
missing.
I think that she thinks he's either. I don't know. She probably doesn't know where he is.
And if we're
Actually.
talking ancillary characters, I thought Ned was a real standout character in this.
One scene and it was
he's
great.
the perfect sidekick. He was just like, I need a distraction. We're all gonna die. Brilliant, brilliant. And thank God I didn't watch the trailers.
You gotta love a man who fucking asks no questions and just does what needs to be done.
That's exactly it. And he didn't even have to think about it. He was like, oh, I'm distraction. Cool.
I love when the Guardians of the Galaxy and Tony, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange all kind of have it out with each other. And he's like talking about Mantis. He's like, please don't lay your eggs in me. Love that. Also, the Iron Suit was fucking rad.
So rad, man.
the entire sequence when he did the rolling thing with the arms, when he had Mantis with him, oh my god,
Anytime
I lost
he-
my shit.
Anytime he uses them to catch himself, like when they took out Ebony Maw, or when he's like rolling, whenever he like grabs Mantis, anything involving him having to use those arms or the arms using themselves. I don't really know how all that works.
Oh,
But
in the line where he's like, well, the suit's so intuitive, this is kind of your fault. Like, I
Yeah.
loved that.
I'm not a fan of the Iron Spider suit. It's not really
Pep, let me show you the
my.
door. Just kidding.
It's just hashtag not my Spider-Man. That's how it is.
Agreed that it's not my Spider-Man, but I mean,
Hashtag
it's cool
me
to see
too.
it pop up every now and then in the comics, and like, I mean, they did a
They did do a great job of it.
Great job of
Absolutely.
like I had no idea those legs were going to come out, but when they did, super thrilled.
Festus, clear your throat. It sounds like you're trying not to. Anyway,
Chadwick Boseman plays T'Challa.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, I didn't see him in this movie.
He-
That was heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking. I was thinking about like, and maybe it's a hindsight type thing for the people who created Black Panther and this film, but like Black Panther is an important movie for our time and our generation, and like it is a very important movie for a lot of reasons, and that character did not get. I imagine that a lot of people that like Black Panther was their very first Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And they were excited about seeing what Black Panther does next and watching this movie and be like, where the fuck was T'Challa in this movie?
I mean, they really shortchanged T'Challa and Captain America, I felt like.
Yeah.
Although we did get some good moments with the General and Shuri. I thought that Shuri did a good job.
she
so-
wasn't nearly as obnoxious as in the first film.
She did-
I will
dude,
But
She
she
had,
didn't
like,
have
what,
as
2
much
lines?
screen time. Exactly.
But no, that's the thing though.
The lines she did have were wonderful.
I think that I mentioned this in our Black Panther review. Every line she had in the original one I found to be obnoxious, whether it be in delivery or whether it be in content.
Whereas,
I think that that's all you, though.
but
I think
she's
everyone else on Earth.
whereas I
loves
could have
that
had a whole
character.
movie
I just
of
hate
her
that
talking.
actress.
I mean, but she's a hyper intelligent young royal like princess. Like, I mean, how could she be anything other than, you know, cocky and arrogant to a point?
The far
It's-
opposite
listen.
from you, DKP.
It's not how the character's written. It is it is very much the actress is why I hate her. Like, 'cause I first saw her in that Black Mirror episode, and I just don't like her mannerisms, like the way that she speaks.
So what
There's
you're
no
saying
reconciliation.
is you're not
there.
going to go see the next Iron Man movie that she is the star
No,
of.
absolutely not.
That's going to end with her going,
Absolutely
I am
not.
Iron Man.
I can't wait.
I can't wait to.
R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman in this film.
It's gonna
Anybody
be
else have any
Iron
word on
Man
that?
forever.
100%.
What do you mean R.I.P.? He's gonna fucking be back in the next movie.
We'll get around to that, but I really genuinely the most big parts of this movie happen in Wakanda. There was so many opportunities for him to play a more pivotal role in this story, and
I
it
want to
just
get to the review so bad.
Dude, review it while we're like your
Yeah,
review.
this is
No,
the
no,
review.
will
because
touch on the
it's-
characters.
There's literally
No,
too many.
there's big
characters.
overarching like plot details I want to discuss that aren't tied to a specific character. I
We'll
know
get to all that
I
stuff.
know I'm gonna bring it up, but
Yeah.
it's like I'm
Just hold yourself.
bring up about even why you're in Wakanda. I'm getting annoyed and hot and ready already.
Okay, gotcha. Zoe Saldana as Gamora.
Killed it, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was great.
She got like such an important role in this film.
I disliked how the relationship with Thanos, I don't feel like that story was told as well as I would have liked. I don't understand enough about their relationship to feel
I
satisfied.
think that's fair.
But her part in it and her acting, even in little things like when she kisses Quill, and that was brilliantly handled. So I thought she was an excellent actress.
You guys want to share with the class?
Great.
No.
Plus,
Throw us off the rails.
He hit what my problem was, that character from her and Thanos. There's that dichotomy of she's been intimidated by Thanos. She's known this guy for like the whole of her life, and they only touched on such a small portion of that you didn't understand that relationship at all.
That's exactly it. And I think that it would have made him, super big spoilers, I think it would have made him sacrificing her much more powerful if I knew ahead of time a little bit more about what their relationship was.
I think that scene worked so well because we did not know the gravity by which their relationship was. Like, had we known how important their relationship was, then there wouldn't have been that great scene of her like laughing and being like, watched you do this for my entire life of destroying all these civilizations, and it's hilarious that we get to this moment and you can't succeed. And I love that I get to be here to be that because you love nothing. And then he's crying, and then
it's not for himself, girl.
yeah,
but you know what?
He's
though,
mourning for you,
and
that to me, that gave you so much, like that gave you so much about why those two characters, like Thanos as a character, you got a lot more context around him, but you also got a massive portion of their relationship through that one like emotional beat.
I see where you're coming from. I just wish that I had more.
I agree that you got a lot with that scene, but that scene was such fucking bullshit. For Gamora not to fucking know that was gonna happen was total fucking BS. When they go to the Collector and then she kills Thanos, and then he's there talking about her, how much he loved her, she should have fucking known that from the fucking beginning. That scene was such
I saw that as her thinking of like, that's like him being very egotistical about like, well, I'm right. Listen, I do this because I love you. Him not meaning it. But as it turns
that's how
out,
she thinks. She thinks that everything that Thanos has said her entire life is a bunch of bullshit.
But as it turns out, like, he does have what seems to be an unconditional love for her, despite the fact that like she tries to kill him. She's like, I fucking hate you, and it still is extremely painful. It worked for me.
I got so much attachment with Thanos because of how they presented that relationship in this movie.
Gamora is the heart.
Regardless of whether you think it was not enough or whatever, like, how they presented it made me captivated by him as a, paternal, like, father figure and just adoptive father, however that was. Like, I was so content with all of that presentation and even the end of the movie. Like, loved it. So, for anybody that's on that bandwagon.
I got a lot to say about Thanos.
We haven't gotten to him yet.
Which, I know, we'll talk about him. But hold on, though. Just a last thing I want to say about this, and I think this is important. To piggyback kind of what Pep said, that scene could have been a lot more impactful for me, too, if I didn't know that Guardians is going to be a trilogy.
Oh, and that's another big problem with this whole movie.
I think she might actually be gone, though.
Absolutely not. I don't think so.
She's got to film the avatars.
The end of this podcast, which is like 6.5 hours from now. But the end of this podcast, we are going to talk about like
what we think will happen.
Yeah, and we also have a segment where we're going to go over everyone who died and then everyone who turned into dust, and we'll debate whether they're dead or not.
I had told Major T something earlier this week.
He was like, "Hey, I think Gamora died."
Yep.
Next up, Karen Gillan is Nebula.
Fantastic.
Okay, I guess we can't.
No. She was in it. You guys like want to move on, but you guys
we don't have to move on. Go for it.
No. I mean, you guys, not everybody, but you guys have bashed her the majority of these movies.
She does well as
Nebula. Has a heartfelt moment in this one. You guys want to pass?
What was her heartfelt moment in this
one? Well, when they extracted the information of where the Soul Stone was, you could fucking tell she was heartbroken. You could tell that she
Nebula
didn't
was
want to.
heartbroken, or Gamora?
You could was it Nebula? You could tell she didn't want to give Thanos that information, but she had no choice.
I couldn't tell that Nebula was heartbroken.
Oh,
yeah, I think Nebula was just getting tortured.
Maybe I did, because you saw that at the end as well, where she said, Thanos just wiped out half of everybody. And then you could tell she wants fucking Nebula. Like, you finally, at least to me, this is maybe I'm just what is it called when I'm projecting? Maybe that's what I got out of her. Maybe that's not what was shown, but that's what I got out of her arc. That's what I got out of her arc in this movie.
I felt like she was an accessory to Gamora. She was her
little doggy that went along with her in the movie, and then you cried when it died.
I think the lady that played her did a fine job. I find once again her character to be very uninteresting and could have been removed entirely, and the movie would not have suffered for it.
I did think
it would have, because how else would you have?
Not a whole lot. You could have written around that pretty goddamn easy.
They could have.
I did like the special effect of her getting pulled apart. I thought that was well handled.
I love the camera shot where it starts in front of her, and then as the camera pans around, you see that she's in pieces, and then we get that exact same camera shot again, but when it pans around the second time, it's her entire body but her eye. Yeah,
I thought that was nice.
We've heard from all these movies how he's just been a complete fucking asshole to her. And now you saw what he had been doing to her. That was fucking heartbreaking.
Next up, Tom Hiddleston plays Loki.
I don't think he's dead either.
Oh my god, he is so fucking
he's probably dead, but
he's so fucking dead.
I did think that he did a good job of being Loki and having an ending that suited what would happen to Loki.
It was a perfect, it's like, to me,
Tommy, his ending was so good. I hope he's dead.
Yeah, I do too.
He's one of the few characters that they didn't give him much, but what they gave him was phenomenal.
Yep.
Like the short amount of doing things that Loki would do, showing where Loki's true allegiances lie, giving him the whole we have a Hulk line, giving him that line. Like every little piece that they gave Loki, to me, one of my favorite scenes of this entire movie is the introduction. The intro, the first 10 minutes of this movie are unbelievable. And Loki is one of, if not the main reason those first 10 minutes are so phenomenal.
Yeah, one of the best character arcs.
Movie started out strong as fuck. No, but it was the very, 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 very first time that he was like, okay, I'll cut the bullshit. Kind of like when I'm joking around too much, and you're like, okay, dude, we need to get this done. And then at a point, I'm like, okay, I'm really annoying him. I'll cut the bullshit entirely. He hit that threshold, and that was it worked for me.
Within minutes, you also had the scene where Thor goes, "Ha ha!" The Tesseract got destroyed with all of Asgard, and then Loki got that look on his face that is a Loki look. And I mean, you had both him cutting the bullshit and being Loki, just back to back. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean,
you really are a terrible brother.
But that look that he gave, and Thor responded, it was like, "What did you do? What did you do?" And then it was like, "Sorry."
And that right there is straight up acting, and that's it was brilliant.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston, super kudos, bro. Next up is Paul Bettany as Vision.
Old Tom Middleton.
Woo!
Are you serious?
He was fine.
Hold on, let me respond to Taylor real quick. Not Paul Bettany as Vision, but Vision in this movie.
No. He said Paul Bettany. I gave Paul Bettany the woo. I didn't give Vision the woo.
The really unfortunate thing is that Vision was so cool in Age of Ultron, the build up to him, and then his character showing up, and then him flying over to the glass, and he has all these amazing lines about who he where he's talking about a thing is not beautiful because it lasts and all this. He has so many great moments at the end of Age of Ultron. Then he has so many great moments where he brings the correlation in Civil War of Iron Man shows up and then all of these crazy things start happening in the world, and there's a correlation between the idea that because Iron Man showed up, then the world goes to shit. So I get why we need to register blah blah blah.
He had
his character is so interesting and says he's the person that you're oh, I didn't think about that.
Exactly.
He says things that we wouldn't think to say. He's the smartest person in the room at all times, but not in this movie.
No, in this movie, he's just basically a football to
But
try and fight over.
He's cannon fodder.
No,
punching bag.
I like my analogy, which is if anyone, I assume there's a lot of people out there listening to this. No, there's not. But I imagine that the percentage of people that have played Yoshi's Island, which is Mario's riding on Yoshi's back, and your goal is to get him to the end of the level, and if you get hit, he floats away and starts going wah, wah, and crying, and there's a little timer that counts down, and if you leave him unattended long enough, he gets swooped away. That was basically Vision. Everyone was having to coddle him the whole time like he was on Yoshi's back, and everyone was like, we're gonna get the stone. It was abysmal how weak of a character he was in this.
Yep.
But I really enjoyed the initial part with him and
Our next character on our list, Elizabeth Olsen, is Wanda Maximoff.
yeah.
Also useless in this fucking film. Her character is possibly my most hated person in this movie.
I think that she did better in this one than she's done in all of them except Age of Ultron.
100% agree.
What were you saying about Vision?
There was a partial evolution. When he became useless, that really sucked, but that entire stammering sequence, like, what if we just I didn't go back? What if you didn't go? And that entire sequence where he truly, like, showed he cared. Like, he was human form. Like, he just wanted to live a normal life with her. And that was just awesome to me. I really enjoyed that piece. And then they destroyed that with every sequence afterwards with Vision.
I did think it was really interesting to see Wanda leaving Vision behind in order to join the battle. I thought that I was interested in that conflict within Wanda, it made her a much more interesting character to me.
What I'm really curious about is I think the majority of us, probably people listening to this and the people at this table, know that Vision and Scarlet Witch have a relationship in the comics, and they have kids in the comics and all that kind of stuff. But if you did not know, let's say, like, shout out to Pep's mom moment, where your mom...
Just one quick second. For all the comic book readers out there, don't pull your hair out. It's approximately true that they had children. Go on.
Apologies. But the idea that they have a relationship, I wonder if, like, people were weirded out by that, if they didn't know that they actually had... Like, let's say you didn't know that those two characters were in a relationship together, had a, like, sexual relationship with each other. If you're like, what? Is the witch fucking a robot?
I have a hard time imagining that because it was so important in the comics. It's just sort of fundamental.
You reckon those two are going to fuck each other?
Yeah, that's why I'm curious about people who didn't know what that was like, what it was like for them. But outside of that, I don't really care about Elizabeth.
I despise Scarlet Witch in this movie.
What about her accent that was on point?
It had nothing to do with that.
That's the only thing that bothers me.
It was in the movie. She's like, oh, the fate of the whole universe? I don't know if I could do it, boys. Everybody? At least like trillions of people? I don't know if I could do it, boys. And it was like, let's go to Wakanda. And no one was like, hey, no, think about it. Stop. We're not going to fly to fucking Wakanda. Kill them. You can make another one later, maybe. I don't know. This is the universe we're talking about.
I'll say this.
No one said that.
If it was my wife or son that I had to murder
to save
or
the
facilitate
universe.
Their death to save the universe, hell yes, it would take me an entire movie to figure it out.
Can we get to Star-Lord, please?
I would kill Victoria tomorrow if it was to save the universe.
If it was to save, like, your
Shout out to
VKP.
If I knew unquestionably that it wasn't a joke to see if DKP will kill himself, I would kill myself to save the universe.
And I think Major Tom, if it were to save your son, I think you would have no problem killing Elizabeth, because I would kill my wife in that.
Whoa.
No, I mean, come on. It's your son.
We're not going to compare the love that we have for our wives, but
how about
I'll say it would be hard.
Here's this. Let's not compare the love for your child, because I ain't got one, so I don't know what that's
what I'm
like.
saying.
But that's not the issue that was in the film.
I totally understand, but I'm saying even my wife, I would have an insanely hard time.
See, that's why I don't date anybody.
And I would be yelling at you. This is the universe, Tommy.
I don't want anybody
like,
destroying the universe. So
for you.
Next up, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson.
Yeah, he was in this movie.
Wait, who?
I'm trying to remember a moment that I liked of his.
Oh, Falcon? Man, Falcon, like, I came around to Falcon finally.
Me too.
In this movie, he just
liked
seemed
him.
out of his fucking league big time, man.
I mean,
it was kind of a disappointment.
Well, this is awkward. Like,
Oh, yeah.
That was a good line.
All right, well, let's skip ahead. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
I really like the first time that we see him.
Me too.
Whenever T'Challa is walking down the hill and he looks over and you see this guy just throwing like bales of hay like 40 fucking feet into this giant container
One armed.
with one, like with not using his metal arm, just like
So,
tossing it.
so that's what he's been doing in Wakanda this whole time. He's become a farmer.
But you bring up this story, and this is an incredible opportunity to have a story about both T'Challa and the, what do they call him, the Silver Wolf,
White Wolf.
the White Wolf. That's a story I want to see. That's a part of this movie I would have loved to have had and didn't get.
Hashtag please be excited for Black Panther 2. Because I think that's what we're going to get.
But there was also the really good sequence after that where he's like, 100-year-old semi-stable guy. Like, that was really good. I liked that.
Anybody have anything else they want to say about Bucky?
I mean, he had one of my favorite parts of the film.
Oh, go ahead.
Whenever he picked up Rocket and they're like doing that 360
Oh,
shooting.
that was
Okay, that was
Yeah,
badass.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
In the conversation they had where it's like, how much for the gun?
Yeah, it's a great
How much
conversation.
for the arm?
Comedic relief.
Major Tom and I have been playing this Ultimate Alliance game, and in it, there's a move you can do where the two characters will
moves.
team up, and I was like, he's hitting L2! He's hitting L2!
Yeah.
Right, they had plenty of good L2 moments in that movie. Which,
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Idris Elba as Heimdall.
That was
He went out
cool.
like a fucking champ.
Here's the bit, and this is the only. It's not a problem with Idris Elba. You should have killed Loki or him, not both at the same time, because Heimdall by himself dying should have been way more focused upon, way more fucking sad. But it was overshadowed by Loki dying immediately after.
I would think that, except for when there was the line where he calls back whenever Thor and Rocket are talking, and he's like, "My best friend had like his chest impaled," which showed you how important Heimdall was to him.
No,
that part
it-
actually kind of bothered me because we didn't have scenes of them being best friends in the
That's fair.
past.
Well, we did. I mean, he was consistently leveraging Heimdall to check in on Jane, so they had tons of
They had
conversations.
a professional
No,
relationship.
no, there
Yes,
was
they
plenty,
did have a very professional relationship.
but there was, it was very casual though.
Exactly.
You spend many nights away from the, my king, and he was like, how is she? And it was just,
I just would have liked more character development between the two of them to justify them my best friend. But totally, you were exactly right. He went out like a champ.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that he chose to save Hulk. Like, he could have saved anybody. He chose to save Hulk. I think it's cool that he's like, that he had the, like, the vision.
foresight.
Yeah, the foresight to be able to, like, oh yeah, no, Hulk's the best person to save out of all of us.
I was wondering if that was because he was the most likely to survive. Because you're
Probably.
basically tossing him through space.
Yeah.
Hold on, man. He uses
I mean-
Bifrost powers. Like Thor's been through That man's been through a Bifrost or two. I'll tell you what.
But, well, yeah.
Next up is Denai Guerrera as Okoye.
Who?
The general.
Yeah, the general. She had a couple of cool lines.
I thought she was
The-
fine.
oh,
Same thing as Black Panther. Just, I'm sorry.
We could have had way
She
more.
had much better scenes. Than
So
Black
we
I thought so,
referred
too.
we referred to the general earlier, but we were talking about a different general, Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah.
So I was like,
That's
the
why
general.
I said Okoye.
Is that guy's fucking name?
Okoye, like this. So she has the scene where she's like, "When you said that we would be opening up Wakanda, I thought you meant the Starbucks or the Olympics or whatever." And then she has that cool scene where Scarlet Witch comes in and fucks everything up, and she's like, "Why has she been up there the whole time?"
Yeah, that was
I
great.
thought that was great. Outside of that, whatever. Anybody have anything else they want to say?
I
about
would have
Okoye?
liked to see. I'm looking forward to Black Panther 2. That's what I'd like to say to that.
I would say the standout character in this film, Benedict Wong, and his "I wouldn't say no to a tuna melt" line.
Holy shit, that was awesome.
Benedict Wong plays a character named Wong.
I just love Wong.
Yeah.
I just love him. He's a great character, and I was happy to see him. I also like the fact that he was the first guy to go, well, my primary job is to protect the sanctum. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, that was fun.
I just find it weird that they're so poor. Couldn't he
Oh, he
conjure?
had 200 rupees, which is like $1.20 or something.
And like, well, we could get a patty melt, I guess. Like, couldn't he just conjure some food? He's like, look, I might be Sorcerer Supreme, but goddamn, I can't make Subway for us, fellas. Fuck.
Well, you'd think he could just open up a hole and reach through and grab a sandwich.
Grab a couple of
Hey.
apples or something.
He is no thief, sir.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Next up is Palm Clementif as Mantis.
Killed it like
yeah,
normal.
she was great.
Yeah.
Hi, Drax.
Yeah, I love that moment where Drax is like talking about being invisible. And then Mantis just walks up and goes, "Hi, Drax."
that's one of those things where I feel like that joke outstayed its welcome with that part. When he said an hour, that's top tier. When he talks about being imperceptible, top tier. When he starts bringing it up to his mouth, lower tier. When you have to like get the big loud punchline of "Oh hey Drax," because you say that every time you see someone on a small ass ship. Yeah. That's when I was like, they over marveled it, but it was still a really good fucking good joke outside of that.
Yeah, it was better than Taserface.
For sure.
But yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a bit of a Taserface.
It was a bit of a Taserface, but it didn't get that far.
No, didn't make it that far.
I was a bit disappointed that she didn't have more to do in this movie.
I agree.
I get it. She's not super important.
But that moment with Thanos when she jumps on his
like, putting him
fucking
to
shoulders, like that was dope as hell.
And I got to give her credit for being super important to the team after just joining on. Like she's really fits in. She's definitely a Guardian.
She's someone that like I hope has a very, very long-term place in these films.
And I like the fact, because I think she's gorgeous, I like the fact that she scared the crap out of Peter Parker.
Don't put your eggs in me.
Man, I'd like to suck on one of those little antennas, you know what I'm saying?
I bet you would.
I would.
Put you right to sleep.
Festus, you get it, right, baby?
That's what she'd say. Sleep! Sleep!
Dave Bautista returns as Drax.
Killed it.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Drax is a very important character to you, DKP. Maybe, and then you might be able to correct me on this. Is he your favorite MCU character?
MCU character? Yeah, Marvel character is Hulk, but favorite MCU character? Like, because Hulk was nerfed hardcore for these movies, which is, goes against why I like Hulk so much. But as far as MCU, absolutely. The fucking line where he's like, "Where's Gamora?" And he's like, "I'll do you one better." "Who's Gamora?" And he's like, "I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?" That is the line of the movie for me. I thought that was the funniest, most well-played joke.
Yeah. I just want to state that Dave Bautista has done a phenomenal job of changing my perception of a wrestler turned actor. Like
100%.
Wait,
The Rock didn't
wait,
do that
no,
for
no,
me?
I was about to say, do you know
The
who
Rock,
Dwayne
like,
Johnson is?
The Rock is his own thing. Like he went into the Fast and Furious stuff.
Yeah, he's kind of the Rock in every part he plays.
Yeah,
Whereas Dave Bautista is totally a unique character.
yes, I want to say that like I can't imagine that somebody else could capture how like what his perception of Drax and his presentation of Drax is. I think it's spot on for what the MCU needs. Like, I just wanted to say, like,
and just as an actor, I want to say that I'm impressed with his ability to, like, somebody gave him the direction, get up like you've been cubed, and he said, "Okay, I'll do that," and he pulled it off. So,
No, he's actually like there's a lot more to the Drax character from an acting point than I think a lot of people realize. Just how you enunciate certain words. I want to go back just to briefly mention, like in Guardians 2, when you say the word embarrassed, it's embarrassed. But the way he pronounces, "You must be so embarrassed," like he intentionally doesn't enunciate words the same way. It's like a monotone throughout, and it's little things like that make the delivery on all those lines, already written well, way funnier. So yeah, he kills it, man.
Vin Diesel as Groot.
He was good.
yeah.
It's fine.
I like the whole line where he's like, "I am Groot." No. Specifically, when they're like talking to Groot and he's playing the game, and he's like, "I am Groot," and they go, "Whoa!"
Like the acorns on this guy. Yeah, that part was great.
dude.
Yeah.
But
And then of course
I'm
the Steve Rogers scene.
I'm amazed at how he's able to voice out a child Groot, how that comes across. Whether that's
Oh, he's clearly a teenager.
Taylor, I think I might have some bad news for you. That's done in post. they're lowering his voice for that
Way
one.
to
you know
ruin
what?
the movie magic.
well, you know what? Just let the movie magic stay.
You thought Baby Groot was that sound was coming out of Vin Diesel's mouth? I am Groot. Whatever.
Which is way more impressive in my mind.
I really, really
I'm gonna keep the
loved-
wool over my eyes. Fuck
Go
you.
for it, man.
I really loved the part that Groot played in making a Stormbreaker.
Oh, yeah.
Stormbreaker.
Hey, well, let me
That was
ask you
very
guys this
satisfying.
then, which I thought that was incredibly fucking
Infused
cool,
to a
by the
magical
way.
weapon.
But if Groot disappeared, which by the way, he's not hurt.
Oh, did
we gotta talk about-
Stormbreaker go too?
I think that once he severs it and it becomes a god weapon, it's doing its own thing.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
just
just
infused
point.
to a very powerful weapon. It's
I would like to think that if Thanos nixed me and I was gone, all my shit in the septic tanks that have yet to be recycled into fucking air and food and shit would go too.
I mean, your
My
clothes.
matter would be gone.
There would be a very clean robe somewhere in the universe.
Bradley Cooper.
Well,
Bradley Cooper plays Rocket.
Jesus Christ. You are the fucking best.
That's a deep cut.
I cannot believe. Okay, we can move on. But yeah.
Bradley Cooper as Rocket. Anybody have anything to say about Rocket?
He was good.
It's fine.
I was super pissed he's the only Guardian left alive. That's all I got.
I mean, is he? No, we'll get to that. I liked whenever he and Thor have. There are two moments that he and Thor have. One moment wherever they're talking about like, hey, I have to go to this planet where they make weapons, and Rocket is so fucking excited about it. He's like, I'm going with this guy. And then also the scene where he's like, all right, time to be captain or whatever.
We missed out on an excellent Guardians and Drax moment. The Pirate Angel
The
shit
Pirate
with
Angel
Thor.
stuff
Oh
was
my
great.
god.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on, boys. Adify, you okay? You with us?
No, I'm. The podcast keeps going in and out for me.
Oh.
You can't hear him?
I can't hear.
He said the
I can
podcast
hear
keeps
him.
going in and out for me.
Oh,
Did you hear that?
Fuck, no.
What is going on?
Do y'all want me to just keep going while y'all play with it? Or you want to pause
Yeah,
this?
keep going. I'll play with it.
Gwyneth Paltrow is Pepper Potts.
She's Pepper Potts. She's brilliant.
I don't really have anything to say about that scene. I appreciate that they gave those two a moment.
I
It
like that
felt
they were
like
getting
that
married.
moment was preparing us for Tony's death that didn't come, so I appreciate the like,
red
pulling
herring.
the rug out from under us.
Yeah.
Thought that was cool. Benicio del Toro as the Collector, even though
Was
it was
he
a
in this
reality.
movie?
Yeah, it was a
Dude,
reality.
but the whole magnificent part, like,
yeah.
so Benicio del Toro, so, like, just, god damn. I thought they got him. And then they didn't get him. But I was like, oh, you got me, good fucker. Like, damn you, Thanos.
Before we talk about the next character, I want to make sure that Idify is back in it with us. You back in with us, pal?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right. Can you hear him at all? DKP?
I restarted my phone. Let's move on.
All right. Next up, Josh Brolin as Thanos.
Killed it.
He did a great job.
Okay, so the acting was fine. Thanos had to carry this movie. This movie
Not only
was...
did he have to, he did. He did carry this
I
movie.
felt they did for sure.
So here's again my problem of this could be a great story. If I had more Titan, if I had more information about why he made the decisions that he made, if I knew more, if I could relate to Thanos in a more direct way, I think that I would have enjoyed it more. If I had more of like him and being sweet to Gamora, there was just like I needed more of Thanos for me to give him the weight that he needed. Like, so the last scene where he's standing in this
a sunset,
and he's just looking out and thinking, I wasn't able to understand how he was feeling at that moment. And I think that was important for me to understand that character.
Everything you said-
100% agree.
Everything that you said and you agree with, I completely disagree with both you guys on. I think every single one of those things was like handled incredibly well. I thought like similar to like Mass Effect with the Reapers, how they come every 10,000 years. Sorry, kind of spoiling the first Mass Effect, but every 10,000 years the Reapers come and they like wipe out the intelligent life on all the planets, so that gives the opportunity for evolution. Like that is what Thanos is doing, and I can like understand like he has spent his entire life conquesting to accomplish something to save people in a way that he hasn't been saved. I know I'm not saying anything.
No.
I'm not giving a hot take, but this movie constantly gives you that. Every single scene that he is in, and dude, even from like the very first line of the movie, when Ebony Maw is like walking over the Guardians, and he's like, you know, be pleased that you are a children of Thanos because you're doing all like. He's like a religious leader that like a bunch of people bought into, and that I've also bought into as a character because they gave him so many of those moments, because he used the reality stone to show them what Titan used to look like, because it gave us a scene wherever he reached his hand down and Gamora's tiny little hand grabbed one of his fingers.
So that scene was great.
Like
Agreed.
they gave us so many moments that showed what kind of character he is. Even when he's like having a conversation with Tony Stark about, you know, where he's talking about how he knows who Tony Stark is, like There are so many different like layers to Thanos that exist that I feel like this movie fucking nailed on every front.
I gotta agree. I think that Thanos is my favorite villain of the MCU.
Me too,
And
for sure.
I did not
Interesting.
anticipate that to happen because his quest seems very cliche. It's the whole, well, the universe is overpopulated, I gotta be the one to do something about it, right? We've seen that before. But the actual character, he's the opposite of Crumbopulous Michael from Rick and Morty, where it's
Right.
like, I just love killing. It's like he was doing all this,
For a purpose.
but he didn't seem like he had any arrogance. Like he didn't necessarily want to be having to slaughter these people. He wasn't laughing in their face, being like, you're so pathetic. All of it seemed like something he knew that he had to do, and he felt like he had the burden upon
All right.
himself
Yeah,
to be
it was a
hated
burden That's
by
what I loved, is
everybody.
and he was like,
Now, even though
everybody knows that this needs to be done, but no one has the ability to do it. And
But but I don't understand why. All right, so two things.
they
One,
call him the Mad Titan,
No,
and he's clearly
and
insane.
that's the
to- you know,
problem I
but-
had right there.
You don't understand why he's mad.
I don't understand why he's mad, and I don't understand his plan.
did you see Titan? What happened to Titan?
I don't
They showed
understand
us-
what happened on Titan, and I don't understand his plan either. If he's going to kill half of everybody on the universe, you
No,
just have
we'll get to that as far
This
as
is
like
the
the
thing.
feasibility of his plan. But
This
like
is the thing with
his
Thanos. Like his story arc overall was an interesting story arc.
exactly.
I definitely don't think he was one of the great villains though. But for me, what sells the villain is having those the critical moments where you understand the motivation and why he's doing what he's doing.
I absolutely
didn't understand any
the
of it.
motivation.
I mean,
I do as well.
he mentions it in a scene that that the planet was in starvation, blah blah blah. He mentions it, but it doesn't sell it very well. And not only that, you have the whole scene with the Soul Stone, which we've already kind of brought up, but he throws Gamora in, and I saw that coming a mile away. But in no way or shape or form did I ever feel sorry for him. Did I felt sorry that he killed Gamora? I know he showed it that he was, but as a person watching the movie, it wasn't conveyed very well.
Again, it goes back to. Sorry, go ahead.
But I think that's my criticism with Thanos itself, is that there could have been those scenes that would have solidified those moments even better than what we were shown, and it just wasn't there.
Let's go back to the conversation we had where we were talking about how much bullshit it was that Scarlet Witch couldn't just kill Vision, and we were like, yeah, but if it was Ethan, I would understand, but if it was just your wife, then I wouldn't understand. This was his daughter. Like, yes, not his blood daughter, but it was clear that he loved and cared about her as a daughter, and he knew that he had to murder her in order to like achieve his plan. And like even when everyone who is around Thanos during that really badass fight that takes place on Titan, when they realize that Thanos killed Gamora, like he never said that he killed Gamora. They realized it by the way he looked, by the way he was emoting, like the emotion that he had on his face. Like and then Mantis said he is in mourning. Like she has the ability to feel emotion better than any character in this entire series of films.
That's her superpower.
The emotion that she felt from Thanos while he was being captured and like tortured and almost lost to what he was trying to accomplish was he was in mourning. So like,
Right, but that's the problem. You had Mantis projecting his mourning. He should
Instead
have
of
been
us
mourning.
understanding it.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
he cried.
It's like
he
it's like it
wept.
was narrated to us.
Because
It's sort of
Mantis
narrated.
was fucking making him cry. And there
No,
are other
no,
scenes
she was-
that's happening, but it's not done well. I
He
mean, for
cried-
me.
He cried when he was about to, or when he killed Gamora.
before he killed her, he was crying.
Yeah, he definitely felt those emotions, and that scene did express that story. But I
Right.
didn't understand that story.
What do you mean?
Right, as
I feel like
as
we-
an actor, you need to be able to tell your story without even giving you much of what he's doing.
He's
And he
CGI.
wasn't doing it. But there have been CGI characters that do that 100% fully.
Yeah,
And he
Planet of
wasn't
the
doing
Apes.
that exactly. And he was, for me, and it seems like Pev, he wasn't doing that very well. I understood he was mourning. I got that. But as me watching it, I don't feel his sorrow. And I
Yeah.
want to feel his sorrow.
I did. I'll tell you that much.
I did too. I'm happy to agree to disagree.
No,
And
I feel like
don't
we
think
watched-
I think this is one of the things where we're not going to be able to change each other's
Well,
minds.
look,
Oh,
hold
no,
on.
yeah,
This
that's
isn't
fine.
about that
For sure.
topic in particular, but as far as so think of it this way: remember the guy in Iron Man 3 who was like, "I need to turn people into lava."
Right.
Remember that fella? And he did that basically because he got stood up to get blown.
Yep.
On a roof.
Yep.
Well, that guy kind of went mad, right? Pretty easily. Thanos, on the other hand, like had his homeworld torn apart
right.
because of overpopulation, which made him go mad. But
Which-
to him, he's sane, of course.
Here's my entire problem with that. All of that happened off camera.
I'm fine with that. Just being like, all that I needed to know for me personally was like, my homeworld suffered this problem.
and I
I
think-
don't want other people to suffer.
And I think
it.
that's the difference. In order for me to understand his motivation, I had to understand that problem, and I didn't understand.
I mean,
I thought that it didn't spend too much time.
So
It spent
here's
just
an
enough time
important
fleshing
question
out.
that I need to answer before I know how to feel about Thanos. And the important
Okay.
question is, was his plan a good plan?
No, but
No, stop.
that-
Stop. Was his plan going to accomplish his goal of saving his people, or was he in fact mad? I don't know. And that to me is vital to understand. Like, if you are if you're an actually insane person, then tossing Gamora in a pit has no meaning at all. I need to have some sort of understanding.
He did call that out when he used the Reality Stone on Titan. He explained that he told them this. He told them that they needed to do this. Right?
If you think about
And Titan's long
nobles and common people alike at random.
I understand that he felt that way about that
Right.
story, but I
Taylor,
don't know
there's
what
a
that story
difference.
actually was. He's
Taylor,
not
there's
a
a difference between
reliable
somebody
narrator.
telling you that they're going to do something and then understanding the motivation behind it.
I would
I
say
gonna-
his-
completely understand. his
I'm going to make a
motivation.
villain comparison here. If you compare him to Hitler, Hitler thought that he was making a good plan. And in fact, I would argue that their plans were very similar. But I know the story, the history of how Hitler got to where he is, and I can make my own judgment, and I choose to say, okay, Hitler was a bad
what
guy.
don't you know about
Yeah.
About Thanos? Because I would argue that even if you compare Thanos to every hero in the MCU, his motivation makes as much sense, if not more, than Captain America's. Like, there's a lot of guys out there laying their lives on the line. Who am I to do anything else? Like, yeah, that's his motivation. It makes perfect sense. Thanos is like, my entire species was wiped out because there were, just like any other civilization, there are warning signs. Just like just like Earth, there are warning signs out there that we're not going to be around forever. We're going to have to colonize space, and we're going to have to do all these things.
100%.
But we're not listening to those warning signs, and something bad's going to happen, and it's going to destroy the planet, and then we're all going to die. But imagine being the survivor saying, how do I stop this from happening everywhere else? To me, that motivation makes absolute perfect sense.
And they got it across. The scene with Gamora, like him actually putting that into actual things. And hey, guess what? That entire population is prosperous and thriving and evolving. Like, I don't see how his plan and his methodology and what's
Because
going
I
on
don't know
didn't-
why the other people in his species made the choices that they made. And I don't know what the results of their choices were, except for what Thanos' interpretation of it was. He's not a reliable narrator.
That's not important then. Just go by what he says, and he
And go by what's going on
clearly
our
in
planet.
the film.
Like, why will our planet be destroyed?
Well, but that's a good point. All right, so if Thanos shows up on our planet and says, I'm going to kill half the people and it's going to solve your problem, and
You said that on that one?
well, that's my point, is that I don't have the information to be able to judge whether that's a good decision or a
I
bad
was
decision.
so bought in on his plan by the end of the movie, though. I, as a viewer, was aligned with his viewpoint by the end of the film.
That's my point, is that I can't even see where he's coming from. Like, his idea is such a bad idea.
Well, I think he's already seen his civilization be destroyed.
And so did that make him go... See, this is exactly my
See,
point.
all right.
Did that make him go mad and now he's doing
I don't
a
necessarily
crazy
think
thing?
it made
Or
him go mad.
Did he learn how to fix it and now he's fixing
That's
it?
his
I don't know.
idea. That's his idea of fixing it.
Let me
Is,
tell you what would have fixed that scene. What would have fixed it is if you would have seen him on Titan, dealing with these issues and the struggle, and then
Exactly.
the aftermath of or whatever planet that he does this on, and how his motivation makes 100% 100% sense to him. Instead, we're given exposition that fills that in. That's the problem with Thanos. You get nothing but exposition with the character, but you don't really, as a viewer, at least for you don't understand the motivation.
Festus had a little more to say, I think.
I just think that he even says that I'm going to do what nobody else has the will to do. Like, he's seen his civilization destroyed, and he's trying to fix everybody else. Like, you know, he's going to kill everybody, like all the other.
And he understands I'm going to be villainized for this.
Yeah.
And like that might be him being mad, thinking like, look, I'm the only person who knows what the right choice is. Or it may just, and he might be completely sane and saying, I just believe it's the right choice.
I think he is completely sane. I think he's just perceived as being mad because of what he's doing.
And what makes me uncomfortable is I don't have enough information to tell, and then it makes me hard for me to relate to him, and that's my challenge.
Whether or not he's insane or not, I know exactly what he believes. Whether it's
I know what he's trying to do.
Whether it's legitimately a long-term, sustainable, good plan or not, also not relevant. I understand his thought process of like, because truthfully, he's probably right. I wouldn't do it that way. But if you got rid of half the people fucking everywhere, there would not be. There'd be a lot of issues
up there again, but it's going to take us a while.
And who knows? Maybe with the Infinity Stone, he's like, or all the stones, he's like, I will do this again when it comes time.
But again,
I'll have to be the warden of this.
So what did y'all need?
I don't need to know that though. Like, I understand his immediate motivations.
So did y'all need a scene with Tommy Lee Jones asking about the plan and then saying, you know, that's crazy, right? And then it's like,
the fuck are you talking about?
The whole sanity of the plan. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. He's got his plan. He's acting on it.
It matters as a selling point to the character's motivation. It matters when you're looking at a character and you're on screen understanding why he's doing what he's doing.
Or feeling what he's feeling.
And so you got sold, or I got sold, and you didn't. I mean,
that's pretty much it.
I feel like we absolutely all the scenes that you guys say that you need. I feel like we got those scenes.
Well,
I feel like we got the conversation where he used the Reality Stone to show what Titan used to look like, to show how important the planet is to him, and why and why he still comes back to this planet.
To me, the most powerful moment with Thanos, period, was when he's like, "What are you gonna do once you've killed everybody?" He's like, I'm gonna finally relax. Like, my job is done. I'm not some mad tyrant who wants to conquer. I'm doing this because it has to be done. And then he follows up on that legitimately, and he goes to what looks like solitude to probably mourn the fact that he had to kill billions and trillions of people. But it had to be done.
Upset about that. I think.
Well, I mean, but
I think what real got him.
There's
was
Gamora.
Either way, but like, yeah, he's like, no, I don't want to be a conqueror. That's not my point. And then he does it. That shocked the fuck out of me that we got that scene.
I like that ending scene with him, because it's like now he can go find peace. Like, he's accomplished his mission. Like, it's just funny.
His cause might be shitty, but it is a righteous cause to him.
I'm glad that you guys got what you needed to be able to relate to this character. It just wasn't what I needed. And maybe in this next movie we'll get a little more understanding about whether or not his idea was a good one. I actually have some theories about that.
No. I don't think his idea was a good one.
I think to
and
him
we'll talk about a little bit more about that later. But to him, I completely think he believed it was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did.
We had Chris Pratt return as Peter Quill.
Chris Pratt was good.
He was great,
dude. So many good moments with Peter.
I love when he shoots bubbles at Gamora, and then Thanos says, "I like him," and then they disappear.
I really liked his interactions with Thor.
Oh, those were so good.
I hated that, man.
I thought those were some of the funnier scenes.
I think it's only because I wanted them to get along.
Oh,
and that part annoyed me because, like, Thor stopped being so fucking douchey and arrogant at the end of the last movie. And the moment he gets rescued by these really nice people, he's like, hey, fuck you, I'm taking your food. I'm not going to say thank you. I'm a god, bitch.
I think that was a man on a mission.
I get it, but it annoyed me.
That's fair.
Because previously he's like, look, I'm in dire need of your help. We need to do this. He's like a little bit gracious. He knows he's a god, but like he's not flaunting. He's not big dick swanging anymore. And then suddenly it was again. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought we were over this.
He did some really good physical work, like the way he put himself physically between Gamora and Thor. I thought was really satisfying.
I love when he has the whole line about let's do my plan because my plan is good. And then they pull off this cool plan that was like one of the highlights of the film. And then he goes, I just want to remind you guys that was my plan, by the way.
He did.
Like, yeah, Peter Quill being Peter Quill. It was wonderful.
Dude, and then
I find it funny that DKP is not mentioning what we talked about earlier with Star-Lord. And it's the whole fact that
His
it's the
mustache?
universe at stake, and he fucking decides, instead of taking off the Infinity Gauntlet, he decides to beat the shit out of fucking Thanos.
Oh no, I fully planned.
That
I fully
scene
planned
so
to get there.
infuriated me.
Idafy, I'm completely with you, and
Oh,
I
good.
fully intend to get there when we discuss that.
Plot device.
I don't know.
Man.
I think-
Come on, y'all.
I
think
know
don't
it's a
think
plot
beyond that. I
device.
think
Dude, if I was in a similar situation with Major Tom, I completely see him bashing a gun into Thanos' freaking face if Liz had been killed.
again, I
Maybe
think
after they
that
got the Infinity Gauntlet off.
the emotional state that you go through with like the potential ability of losing someone you love or losing someone you love makes you do crazy fucking things.
Yeah.
Makes you act irresponsible.
Look, I don't think
and
anyone.
I think that it was not even out of his character to do that. I think it was 100% in line with who he was. I think it was 100% in line with like how he has reacted, because he hasn't. Even the whole scene that he has with Gamora where they're talking about, like, she's like, you're going to have to kill me. He, like, doesn't take it seriously. He doesn't know the gravity of what's actually going on until, like, yeah, they have the conversation, and yeah, Thanos grabs her, but he's the hero type that's going to save her and all these things. And when he gets the realization that it's over, that he doesn't have the ability to do anything about it, he acts like an idiot.
Look,
and that's, I think, something that a lot of us would do.
I totally get that. I never questioned that for a second, that in the context of the movie, it makes sense and it's an obvious way to go for a plot device. But it was fucking frustrating
Yes.
to see.
That's fair. That's not his
That's
fault.
all I gotta say.
That's not
It
his
was
fault.
fucking
Or the
frustrating.
writer's fault or anything like that.
And then
Because-
That just shows your investment in the character in the film.
Because look, and I'll tell you why there's a difference between that and Scarlet Witch. That was a gut reaction from him. Very much how we saw it. When you said it's in character, you're absolutely correct.
Yep.
Because when he's like, that's why I had to kill your mom, Peter. And then it was like a Han Solo who shot first, but you didn't have to question it. It was bam, no talking. So yeah, that is in his character. Scarlet Witch had how much time from a flight to Wakanda to maybe digest this and be like, well, yeah, I guess I probably should. Yeah, so that's why a little bit different, but it was still fucking
no, to
frustrating.
her-
I get it.
to
I
her
don't think that
benefit-
there's any other thing that they could have or should have done. I don't think there is a better way to handle all
Hey,
of that.
but to her benefit, she did do it, and then Thanos was like, "Nah, bitch," reversed.
Yeah, I was really happy to see that he was willing to make the sacrifice, because at least it wouldn't have disappointed Gamora. She understood he kept good on his promise, on his mother's fucking life, right? So yeah.
I also want to say that I think turning your weapon into bubbles is a badass superpower.
Yeah, dude, the Reality Stone is so Hal Jordan DC level shit.
I just find it weird that Thanos didn't turn everyone into bubbles to kill him.
I mean,
But
we'll
you
talk
know,
about that when we get to
one
the.
of the things that I did like is that you finally understood what the Reality Stone fucking did. You didn't get that anywhere in the Dark World.
What are you talking about? Turns everything dark. Go Malekith. Turn the world dark.
the lights off. Fuck.
I know I'm not going to be in everywhere in the universe, but everywhere I am, I want to make sure it's black, okay?
And I just want to know that there's not going to be a point where I'm going to whoops into somewhere with his light. It needs to stay dark all the time, okay?
Everywhere.
Insert hair flip, cigarette, and coffee.
Anybody have anything else on Chris Pratt? Because I think that's the last big character.
Nope, let's go down the list,
All
baby.
right, we're almost done. Sean Gunn returns as the on-set Rocket. No Kraglin in this film. William Hurt plays Thaddeus Ross.
He did.
His character was exactly like he was.
Yep.
And everything else,
I
more of the same.
He was an opportunity for Rhodey to have a good speech.
Yeah. Letitia Wright plays Shuri. Guys, DKP stepped away.
I love
Shuri is
her.
going to be the
He's
best.
running
He's
back
going to be the
into
best
the room.
Iron Man. She's going to be the best Iron Man ever.
She is going to be such a
She's
good
going to
Iron
be an
Man. I
awesome
can't
Iron
wait.
Man. Yeah, me too. And I want to say this. I think she succeeded. I think she separated the stone from...
I think Jarvis is at least out of there.
Yeah.
I think we'll see whatever version
I
of
want
Vision.
Paul Bettany's voice back.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, we'll get some Paul Bettany. Terry. Okay, so here we're going to touch on the Black Order / the Children of Thanos real quick. Terry Notary. I'm just going to go over all of them, then we'll talk about them as a whole. Terry Notary plays Cull Obsidian. Tom Von Lawler plays Ebony Maw. Carrie Coon is Proxima Midnight, and Michael James Shaw is Corvus Glaive.
All right, Proxima Midnight was the one with the horns for eyes.
Yes,
Yeah,
the female.
And the Glaive one was the giant dude.
No.
Corvus Glaive is the one with the spear.
The
Pointy
glaive.
ears.
The
With
one that
the-
he's like trying to pop out his.
Got it.
He's the one that like looks kind of like an elf
Yeah.
demon thing.
All right, I loved Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw is the only good
the
Black
sorcerer
Order
type.
character.
Yep.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand any of the other guys.
yeah,
Dude,
they were cannon fodder.
once again, there's so many comic attachments for me personally, and just seeing Corvus Glaive brought to like life on
Was good for
in
you.
the movie was so awesome for me in how like it. I felt like he was out of the comics. It was so fucking cool, and so like minus his value and contributions to the movie, I don't give a shit. I got to see 3D rendered fucking Corvus Glaive. Like, thank you.
I really enjoyed Ebony Maw's speeches, and I usually don't enjoy the speechification of the bad guys, but he
Not
he-
even
he
just the bad guy, but like the peon bad guy.
Yeah,
And-
like
but he just pulled it off. Like, I was interested in all the things he had to say. It was sufficiently creepy. It was good.
I love the way he fought.
I love the way he fought.
You
When he,
might
like,
be
turned
the
all
only-
the
We're talking about
bricks.
the Thanos dude,
The-
that his main
Black Order.
main Damie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But you might be the only person at this table who would.
you're pointing at Paul, by
recognize
the
this.
way.
I'm pointing at Pepiv. Yes. Is I got a very Chronicles of Riddick
Yeah,
feel to them with the under God. We talked about this and now I've forgotten what they're called.
Outriders.
The
Outriders.
No.
Necromancer.
the necromongers.
Oh, you're talking about the ones from
Yes,
Chronicles
I
of
got
Riddick.
that feel immediately. Like
Yeah.
that entire speech and just like that entire thing. And it seemed very just space sci-fi, a group following an aspect of death kind of thing. It was super dope.
it was definitely a cult, and that I think that worked really well.
You thought that cult worked really well?
As for
Where
being
you, to
believable.
where you could understand their motive. I'm just being
Hey, Ped, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been on Tommy's side of being fucking a condescending dickhead? Because you just hit there for the first time. I've been there a
landed
lot.
there.
It sucks, doesn't it? It's annoying.
It was amazing.
I feel like I've made it.
You've officially made it. I'm being an asshole to you. You've officially made it.
It's hey, man. Respect.
I love Ebony Maw. I thought he was great. I like the way he fights. I like the way he talks. I like the words he says.
Dude, when he got pissed off at the fucking cloak, like
Yeah.
in New York, like, oh man.
And he made a really good foil to Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange, like, I believed that the two of them were an equal match, and
For
that's tough to do with a guy who's so powerful.
I don't know, man. Ebony Maw doesn't have anything. He's not Ebony Maw Supreme. I think it's bullshit.
I
they're an
think
equal
Doctor
match.
Strange would have whooped him if it really came down to it, but if you quit doing that, I'm right here. Like,
What?
he keeps pointing at the mic, and
Hey,
I'm sitting right here with him.
boys.
Sorry. Anyways, I thought Ebony Maw was great.
Are you serious?
Guys, Taylor's walking off. For all of our listeners,
I think he might be either peeing or leaving.
I think he's going to have a cigarette.
Okay, well, we're clearly gonna have to edit this podcast.
Or this could be drama.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm pretty sure at this point we're gonna have to do some edits to it.
I mean, whatever. Winston Duke plays M'Baku.
Love seeing M'Baku. Wish he'd had more.
Yeah. I don't feel like they really gave him anything in this movie.
Oh, we did quote him at the beginning of our podcast, though.
Mbombe. Florence Kasumba plays Ayo. She was in Black Panther. I don't even think she had a line in this film. Carrie Condon continues to be the voice of Friday. You know, I like you and I were talking about her, and I was like, I don't remember her line in the movie, but it was somewhere at the very beginning. Jacob Batalon plays Ned.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I just thought he was the perfect sidekick.
Peter Dinklage plays Eitri, the king of the dwarves of Nidavellir.
We've talked about him.
We
We
did
did talk about him. I think we're good on that. There are two characters for the post-credit scene. We'll talk about them when we get to the post-credit scene. And then Ross Marquand plays Red Skull.
The surprise.
Fucking
Biggest
robbed.
surprise.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
it was awesome.
Before we watched the movie, Peb was like, "Man, I hope there's a Vulture level like
Reveal.
surprise in this
Yeah.
film." And to me, like Red Skull was
It
that.
absolutely was. And here's the best part: seeing it on the night it came out, the whole audience gasped.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was so satisfying to me. I was like, everybody not only knows who Red Skull is, but they know why it's shocking to see him
For
at this
sure.
spot.
And when you first see it, you're like, "Oh, it's Death." They did decide to bring Death into this, and then you get close to the face, and you're like, "Oh no, that's Red Skull."
That is Red Skull.
No Hugo Weaving though. How do you guys feel like?
Oh, that wasn't
Rose,
Hugo Weaving?
No, it's Rose Marquand.
Oh, well, I didn't
Or Ross
realize it wasn't
Marquand.
Hugo
I thought
Weaving.
it was Hugo.
Yeah.
There
He's
wasn't
from
enough.
The Walking Dead.
There wasn't enough time that he got on screen like talking for us to notice. He probably had like a combined total of like 15 lines, and it's like for that to be the big mystery solved bit, and then for him to really do nothing except like, yeah, just you gotta throw her over the bridge, and then you'll get it. And then he just like straight up does it. He's like, wait, no, he's sad. That's like all we got. I wanted a little bit more than that, but it doesn't mean we won't. No, let's be honest. We're not going to revisit him in the future.
No.
I think we got closure from
But-
him, and that was good for me. Like,
That's what I needed to.
You see, but were you going into this movie thinking about Red Skull?
No, that's why it worked for me.
You had closure. He's in the cosmos somewhere.
No, I
didn't-
often
didn't
wondered
have
what happened to
closure,
him.
but I didn't care that I didn't have closure. for that.
That's what I mean. I feel like them bringing him back, he should have had more to do.
I always did wonder what happened to him.
Me too. And in fact, I said, if you go back to the podcast on Captain America, I was like, oh, I hope we get to see him again. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't need any more closure than this.
Yep.
The idea that he's sort of eternally stuck aspiring for a stone, like the thing that that ruined his life has become his afterlife, I thought was a very satisfying.
Which is the greatest punishment for that character ever.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I kind of would have liked to have seen this, where he's like, "You're the one who can get the stone. You can do it." He's like, "So I will now bow to you." And he's like, "All right, Red Skull, let's go together, buddy."
Oh, like he took
and
it
then
with
he
him?
became his new like second in command for the next film or some shit. I would have liked
Yeah.
to have seen that. Now, the way I just described it sounds horrendously corny, and that was on purpose. But yeah, think about it like if it wasn't horrendously
You're saying
corny.
you would have liked more Red Skull.
Dude, Red Skull's fucking great. He
Yeah.
looks spooky as shit, man.
I do like me some Red Skull.
He did look super creepy in this. That's pretty much it for the characters.
Awesome.
DKP, what is the plot for this movie?
Dude, I've been dreading this because there is so much that goes on in this fucking movie. And it is all fucking over the place. So, in summation, to start off, it's of course a coming-of-age story. And it's about a guy who... hold on, let me rehash Thanos for everybody real quick. Anyway, it's about a dude who wants these stones because they look super rad, and he's like, gotta get my bling. Got Gucci Mane, Gucci Mane. What's the song? Gucci Gang? You know this, Festus.
It's Gucci Gang. I think. I don't
Yeah,
like
don't
this
pretend
song.
like you
I
don't
hate
know
this
it.
song, but I know what you were talking
Okay, but he's
about.
like, hey, they got gold on my rings, and he's like, he's got to go do it, right? He's,
You're singing it perfectly.
I
flawlessly.
know. and he's like, so he's really after these stones, right? So he can be the most baller person in the universe. I don't know. They're all over the place, and he's like, oh man, I'm sad about because once my quest to be the most balling out of control person in the universe comes to an end, I can just relax, but there's no one around for me to be cool with. I don't know. No one wants to like give up their stones, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, to be baller as shit to prove it to y'all, I want to be gangsta too, and that's killing half of y'all." And he wants to do that too. I don't know. He does it eventually.
Thanks.
Dude,
Wait,
like,
he got that bling.
I knew after I walked out of that movie, I was like, I'm just gonna throw this one out the window.
No,
Like,
so-
there's so much that goes
think-
on, like in being any more granular than that.
I think your
would
summary
take up way
is
too
perfect.
much time.
Thanos wants some jewelry. He gets it. He kills half the people in the universe. Movie over.
Boom.
He
Nailed
wasn't
it.
going to let the Avengers stop his shine.
He certainly was not.
All right. So here's... Yeah, we can either review the movie now, or we can settle our bets that we made.
Let's settle the bets.
Yeah.
All right,
'Cause I
let's
think
settle
that's
those
gonna take
bets.
some time.
I think the review will probably take more time, but
I feel like we've already reviewed most of the fucking
Yeah,
movie.
that's what I felt
Right?
like too.
Yeah.
okay. So if you guys listen to our pre-Infinity War episode. We asked a bunch of questions and we made a bunch of bets. Some of these do not have answers. Some of these we will need to discuss to determine if the answer exists. What? Tasty is on this list.
I'll be right back.
Peb, Idify, Tasty, DKP. I'm on the list. Also, I added Festus. Festus, however, was at the... He got to see everyone's answers, so he got to move his stuff around. So Festus is not in this for the stakes. And to be fair, I got to hear all the answers before I wrote all of mine down as well. I mean, I wrote them down. I talked through it with you guys in the last episode. But I would say primarily Peb, Idify, Tasty, and DKP. This is y'all shit.
Well, look, I did it the right way without knowing. If someone else beats me, I'm okay with it. I just know that my integrity remains intact. Idify, shut up. That's not true.
First question, how long into this movie before Peter Parker speaks? So I used a timer in my second viewing of the film. I started recording as soon as the Marvel logo started to come up and the lights in the theater went down. And I stopped recording as soon as I saw Peter Parker. So give or take 30 seconds, it was 18 minutes and 10 seconds in. Peb said 8 minutes. Idify said 6. Tasty said 25. DKP said 11. I said 22. Festus said 12. I was 4 minutes away. Tasty was 7 minutes away. DKP was 7 minutes away. Idify was 12 minutes away. And Peb was 10 minutes away. So
Peb wins.
I guess. Yes, Peb's going to take this one. Wait.
Yay.
No,
Really?
Tasty's going to take this one.
Yeah.
7 minutes away.
Oh, shit.
That's 1 point for Tasty.
My arch nemesis.
Wait,
What?
we tied. If you said
Oh, wait,
11
yeah,
minutes,
both of you guys are 7 minutes away.
Hell yeah,
so
up top,
DKP and
motherfucker.
Tasty 1 point each.
Oh dang.
What is the first Infinity Stone we will see in this movie?
I could not have
Peb
been
said
more wrong.
space. Idify said power. Tasty said space. DKP said time. I said space. It was the power. That's a point for Idify. Festus said space.
Wait,
Festus said space as well.
it was power because it was already in
It was
his
already in
glove.
his
Yeah.
gauntlet, and we saw, in the
Yep.
opening scene. Will we see the Captain Marvel post-credits count? We all said yes. We did not see Captain Marvel. We saw her
Yeah,
emblem.
I don't think we should
all
get
of us
credit.
said yes.
We all said yes.
All
Then
of us
it-
said yes.
Then it doesn't matter. It's
Then
a
it
moot
doesn't
point.
matter.
So,
But it is a question of if we agree or disagree, because that point could... Do you guys think that we saw Captain Marvel in that movie?
I
No.
don't think so.
Okay.
I
I say
agree.
no as well. So okay, cool.
but it doesn't matter if everyone just gets 1 point. Then the new baseline's 0 for everyone else.
It is, but other points as they come into it could affect it. You get what I'm saying?
I don't.
We've agreed that it doesn't count.
But
Yes.
yes.
How many main characters will die? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Do you guys believe the events that happen at the end of this movie are characters dying?
So this is the point we need to talk about in the review. I feel like that's its own thing. You're talking about becoming leaves or dust in the wind.
Yeah.
I feel like that is its own thing, and we don't know yet what the consequences of
So
that
do
are.
we consider all those characters dead or not?
I personally don't.
DKP, do you consider those characters dead or not?
Absolutely fucking not.
That's 2. Tasty, do you consider these characters dead?
I mean, I would say that for the movie, they don't exist.
So are they dead or not?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess.
But
They're-
you think they are?
Tasty,
What do
you were here for the recording though. Like
So-
the intent was like who died in this film.
I'd
Like,
define, do you
Absolutely.
consider them dead?
Okay, so this is my take on it. Us, as people who know the Marvel Universe, we know they're not dead. But I think as a general audience person, yes, for all intents and purposes, they are
Okay,
dead.
so for the question, how many main characters will die? Do you think they are dead?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 2 yeses, 2 nos. Festus?
I don't have a horse in this race because I just
But well, do you think that
I
those,
do not. I think anybody that turned into dust does not count because you know those characters are coming back.
Therefore, that's 3. And I mean, I can tie it up, but I agree with Peb, DKP, and Festus. So that is enough people that say that those characters are not considered dead. Okay?
Agreed.
So that means our dead characters are Heimdall, Loki, Gamora, and Vision. That means we had 4 dead characters. Pebib says 12. Idify says 10. Tasty says 5. DKP says 4. I said 3. Festus says 3. That is 1 point for DKP.
Ooh,
Nicely done.
Mom, boop. Is that what it is?
No. Boom, bet. Next up, not including the post or mid-credit scenes, who will have the last line in this movie? Peb said Thanos. Idify said Thanos. Tasty said Thanos. DKP said Captain America. I said Doctor Strange. Festus said Thanos. Captain America had the last line in this film. That is 1 point for DKP.
Damn.
You can't
And
see
his,
it, but I have
his line was either "My God" or "Oh God."
I have the Superman pose right now with my hands.
He does have the Superman pose.
I'm feeling pretty heroic right now.
Next up, will we see the Nike logo? The only shoes that were in this movie, I think, Tasty, you were with me when we went through something that goes through every shot. You can click it and you can like buy Peter Quill's jacket. The only shoes we saw in this movie were Peter Parker's shoes, and they were Vans. So I'm going to say that's a no.
Did anyone get it right?
Idify got it right. I got it right. Festus got it right.
So Idify and Major Tom.
So that's 1 point Idify.
Festus, you got it right.
I'll
I'm
put a
not going
point
to
up
take
there
that
for
away
you.
from you.
I appreciate
Will
that.
the word assemble
Idify
be
was
spoken?
quick to do so.
Did anybody hear the word assemble? Because I did
I
not
did
in
not.
the 2 viewings that I
No,
did.
I
No.
didn't hear it either.
So we're just going to go with it being a no.
Yep.
They
Because-
saved their score.
Was there even I've assembled all of Infinity Stones? Or was...
Pebib said yes. Idify said yes. Tasty said no. DKP said yes. I said no. Festus said yes. So Tasty and Major T got that right. Just realized I marked the point in the wrong place. Excuse me for a moment. Will any of the main characters wear a tie during this movie? All of us said yes. There was no tie in this movie.
All right.
Pretty hilarious. So yeah, no point on that one. Will Tony Stark say the words "I love you"? He did not. I was the only
Everyone
one
else in the movie.
Yes. I was the only person who said that I think that he will, and I got it wrong. Everybody else got a point. So it's 1 Peb, 1 Idify, 1 Tasty, 1 DKP, and 1 Festus. Will Star-Lord Zune make an appearance? This is kind of an interesting question because a song from his Zune was played in this film, but did it make an appearance?
I'd say no.
I'd say no too. And
I know-
that's a
I
hard
know.
call.
And I know that I said it would make an appearance too, I believe, but
Here are the people who said, Pebib said yes, Idify said no, Tasty said yes, DKP said yes, I
Yeah.
said no, and Festus said yes. So 2 people said
So-
no, that was Major T and Idify.
going against my own interest, no, that does not count.
Yeah, it just didn't.
That's a point. We currently have a tie. What will the Rotten Tomatoes critic score be on opening night? Pep said 92, Idify said 90, Tasty said 89, DKP said 94, I said 84, Festus said 86. The actual one right now it's 84,
Mm-hmm.
which means I would have got it if I would have been more specific and said the night of the podcast. But instead I said opening night, which is 86. So Festus was right on the money.
Nicely done, Festus.
Yes. However, the person who was closest was Tasty. He said 89%, and it was actually 86%. So that's a point. I'm just going to give a point to me, a point to Festus.
Wait, why are you getting a point?
Because I was actually 2% away. I was closer than Tasty was, but I'm not actually in this
All right,
competition.
well, who won?
quote unquote. It's not over yet. How many times will the word fun be used in the Red Letter Media Review? The Red Letter Media Review is not out yet.
Oh no.
You know what? I really should have fucking mentioned that.
Been like, yeah, they don't put their stuff up till Sundays.
Till Sunday. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't think about that.
That's all right. The night of the movie, after the movie, I'm going to search on YouTube for Infinity War. I'm going to click the third video from the top. How many letters would be in the top commenter's name? So when I did this, so it's like 2 videos pop up, and then there's a button that says 5 more that will give you 5 more videos. So I was like, which one is going to count? If I click 5 more and then click the third video, or just the third one from the top, not including that? So I counted both of them, and it was either 10 or 11.
Oh, so it's really
10
close.
or 11. Peb says 8, Idify says 10, Tasty says 15, DKP said 5, I said 7, Festus said 8, Idify nailed that shit. Even if it wasn't. And what's funny is I thought I tripped you guys up, because I said how many letters? Because people put characters in their name all the time when they create stuff. So if it would have been a number or like a whatever, then it wouldn't have counted. It was only letters that counted. However,
You little fucking bitch.
I thought I tripped you guys up with it. However,
I'd have probably bet the same.
the only names were only letters. There was no weird characters. There were no numbers in any of the names. It was only letters in both of the names. So,
way to go, Idify.
Yep, that's another point for Idify. Let me go to the right page here.
You know how many points Idify is probably going to get?
Tasty,
10.
can you smell what I'm cooking, bitch?
I'm going to read and watch 3 reviews. IGN, Half in the Bag, and the Rolling Stone review. Which character will be called out the most for having the most standout moments / be the best character?
So I'm curious what the results of that were.
Well,
The problem is the
inconclusive.
Half in the Bag review did not come up.
Oh, yeah.
So the question is do we want to do it based off of the Rolling Stone and IGN reviews?
I would say
Or-
so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's 2 out of 3.
If that's the case, Thanos, of course, was talked about the most.
And it probably would have been the case in Red Letter Media, more than likely.
Yeah, because Thanos is the villain of this film. So
But it doesn't matter,
That's a
but
point for Idify. Well earned, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
boom
sir.
wop. I can't
Ooh,
remember
Bob.
what
really
it,
can't.
I can't remember what it is for the fucking life of me.
Ebom bet.
Okay.
What's weird is I always thought there was a T at the end of it, and you can kind of hear me say a T, but there's not a T at the end of it. Ebom Bay.
Very interesting.
Ebom Bay. Right?
Do you think that's a Beyonce reference?
Maybe. It means hold.
Oh.
It's African for hold. Well, one of the African languages for hold.
Oh, cool.
And then our final is where's the Soul Stone? Is it A, in Wakanda? B, Heimdall has it? C, Adam Warlock or the Sovereign have it? D, it is on or related to Titan? E, it's in the subatomic world. F, it is completely lost. Not even Thanos knows where it is. G, Tony Stark is the Soul Stone. Or H, none of these. This one's like, it is H. The answer is H, so that is the point for Idify and DKP. And but it says not even, like, it's completely lost. Not even Thanos knows where it is. That's accurate, except for it's not completely lost. Only Gamora.
Only Gamora knew.
And I guess you could say Nebula. So a character knew where it was, but it's weird how close that was to being accurate.
Red Skull also knew where it was.
Well, it's true.
Yes.
He couldn't tell anybody, but
Yes. So that is a point for Idify and DKP. Ooh, 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 ooh. Final score. Peviv, 1 point.
oh my god.
Tasty, 4 points. Major Tom, 4 points. Festus, 2 points. And the winner with 7 points, Idify.
Well done.
You didn't
Idify.
say my points, you fucking dick.
That's because you got second place. Nobody cares. You got 5 points.
All
If
right.
you ain't first, you
See,
last.
Tasty, you may have won that last podcast, but I won this one.
I've never won one of these before, but I'm fine with second place. Especially second place when it's more than just me and Major Tom, and I by default take second place. Like, I mean, I this is a good feeling second place.
That's loser talk.
All right, let's review
It
this
is.
movie.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead. What were
So
we gonna
I
say?
feel like the thing that we should talk about that's the most important thing to this movie is that when we come to the point where I need to score this movie, I'm going to have a really hard time doing it because I feel like I haven't seen the end of this movie.
No, that Tommy and I talked about that earlier. You need to score it based on this movie.
Oh no, I agree.
If you feel
you
like you got robbed and like, well, had I seen the second one, that ain't the point.
I am going to
So, yeah.
score it. I'm going to give you a score, but it is hard for me because I really feel like this is half of a movie.
Let's
Yes.
The character arcs
Well,
didn't end.
Why don't
Nobody-
we lead off with on that note?
I don't want to lead off on that note
Oh, okay.
personally because I feel like that is going to discolor this. It's gonna alter the rest of the review in a way that
To
is
make it
going
more
to make it
negative?
seem weird.
I have
so
okay. So let me
I
just
think-
get it out from me.
okay.
As far as this movie being half a movie, I never didn't anticipate that. So I'm completely fucking fine with it being like, we'll finish this up later. I have no problem with that.
I just wish that we had had some characters whose stories got wrapped up, and that didn't happen.
I would like to start with what we liked about this movie first.
The action was amazing.
Yeah, really good.
Thanos' motivations.
Back to it, baby.
No, legitimately, whether you disagree or not, like, I did not anticipate. I thought Thanos is gonna come in like, bow before me, for I am mighty. And yeah, I thought it was gonna be like that because I didn't watch any of the trailers.
Yeah.
Me and Pev never watched any of the trailers. So whatever
And-
voiceover narration he probably had in the trailers, I didn't know. I'd never heard him speak before. I was shocked how like subtle. And
he is such like a quiet character.
Yes.
Yes, and that
yelling.
I was very surprised on that. So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Just Thanos. Not to go back into the Thanos talk, but
so just kind of overall, I have never been like so hyped during a movie as I was. Like there were constant. I think about. I've watched a lot of movies with Festus and DKP for that matter, and a lot of times when something crazy happens on screen, we take each other's elbows and like fucking jab them into each other. Like, dude, it's happening, it's happening. I did that more in this movie than I've ever done in any movie watching with Festus. There are so many moments where my mind was fucking blown, where like it was a spectacle. People talk about like Avatar being a spectacle or whatever. To me, as a film, this film, like as a movie-going experience, this movie is an absolute spectacle.
It's super dense. Like, it's so long, but at no point in time was I bored. At no point in time was I, like, wondering, where's this going? What's going on here? Blah, blah, blah. I enjoyed all the scenes, and I felt like, and it was super exciting the whole time. There was an incredible amount of stuff going on, but at no point was I going, who is that guy again? And that's crazy. There were so many different characters, and I was able to follow the whole story.
At no point were you bored, like, you reckon those two are gonna fuck each other or something? Shout Peb's mom. Which, by the way, can we talk about that real quick? Peb's mom.
Sure.
We've been doing the shout-outs to her this entire podcast. I don't think you know this. Peb's
Not
mom
once
actually
has she left a comment, by the way.
She did?
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't.
But
Oh, okay.
Peb's mom, as you told me, actually went and saw this
She did.
movie
She saw it last night.
in
Awesome.
preparation, so she could know exactly what we're talking about.
She had never seen Avengers till I watched it with her in order to do this podcast.
Had she seen any MCU films?
I think so. I think she's seen a couple of them, and she might have seen this one, whether or not we'd been doing the podcast or not. But I think that it removed any question. She was definitely going to go see it, and I'm super looking forward to talking about with her later this
I gotta
weekend.
say, Peb's mom, you're awesome.
Yeah, Pep's
Yeah,
mom
no
is
shit.
awesome.
I'd like to
got
buy a
good
drink
feels
one
right
day.
Good feels.
Yeah. I thought this movie, I had some problems with it, which I'll talk about later maybe, but I want to say this. This is the most comic book-esque comic book movie
100%.
I've ever seen. It felt nothing like any of the movies that came before it. I remember specifically when it was Rocket Raccoon and Thor on Titan, and there's that crossover that seemed no big deal. That happens all the fucking times in the comics, right? But sorry, I might have misspoke about them being on Titan, whatever, man. But like, it was like, yeah, this would happen all the time in the comics. Like, if they need to be in the same place, they need to be in the same place. But because the Marvel movies, the MCU, has had to force them to be separate for so long, and then they were able to so organically put it in. There were so many moments where it's like, oh, I've read something similar to this. Like, these characters belong together. Like, it's hard to define, but like, this is the most comic book-esque comic book movie that I've ever seen, and it was perfect in that regard. It nailed that shit. The crossover stuff so fucking well.
So there's a couple things on this. One, the way that they introduced and brought everybody together for me was so well architected. They did it so well. The pacing for it was spot on. And the other piece is the framework that they built in explaining and developing these abilities and these powers and just how these people fit into the universe set the stage for magic versus magic and, science versus might and infinity stones versus, nanotechnology. Like, it just all seemed to fit, and I didn't question, other than the rocket booster piece, how this worked. And I'm super thankful that the film was able to accomplish that.
They went to so many different planets and so many different environments and so many different things were all going on at once, and yet somehow I was able to track it. I was never lost. I just had a lot of fun with this movie.
Yeah.
And that is a great accomplishment. And it wasn't overly it wasn't Ragnarok-y. It wasn't jokey, but I laughed.
But it was not Civil War.
But it was not Civil War
either,
morose.
where it's like, perfect fucking word to describe that. It wasn't overtly serious. Like, it, once again, was the best comic book movie I've probably ever seen, to where it nailed how it felt as a comic book movie. When Red Skull popped up, there's this YouTube channel that everyone should check out. It's called Comics Explained. A lot of people, I know Idify you have, but the guy is like the most enthusiastic guy ever about comics, and he reads new issues and like sometimes a recap and be like, so at this point Batman goes, and then it's like, holy fuck, the Joker, and I'm like, wow, the Joker's the person behind this. He's the one that's pulling the strings. He's Commissioner Gordon, and it's like the way Schneider writes these comics, and he gets so excited about like a random crossover insert. And it was like, I could picture him talking about the Red Skull being like, and as it turns out, Red Skull, that's the guy that's holding the Infinity Stone. When I'm reading this and being like, holy shit, it's Red Skull. I mean, it just blew my mind, man. But like, it's like taken directly out of one of those guys, like him reading a random issue or arc of a comic. It was perfect.
I have to say, I know that channel very well. And while you didn't sound like him, you hit his mannerisms almost 100%.
But
I know.
I feel that perfectly describes how I felt watching that movie. Like every time, and I was sitting next to Pep when I was watching the movie, and I'd have to get your opinion on how much I was just freaking out throughout the entirety of that film.
No, Pep's like, well, yeah, at some point you just whipped up my cock and started. He's like, you were freaking out, all right.
And that's why, shout out to Pep's mom. That's why I love this movie.
And Pep was like, well, personally, I had a great time.
Yeah, I guess there was stuff going on the screen. I was doing my own thing.
That's why you missed Thanos' motivations. you were too busy coming.
Festus, what you think?
I thought the movie was great. I thought it did an even better job of juggling all these characters that, Civil War, it had double the amount of characters than it did in Civil War, and I felt like it did just as good a job juggling them all together and giving them their own screen time and their own time to shine as...
Not all of them, but most
Cap.
of them.
Minus Cap.
Minus
But
Black Panther as well. But,
minus T'Challa and Captain America. But everybody else, like...
Scarlet Witch. I mean,
Scarlet
Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow.
She had her time.
Sorry, go ahead.
I felt like she had a good moment to shine. Her and Michonne, they had that good where they fought Proxima Midnight.
Okay.
It's pronounced Michonne.
Whatever.
No, it's not.
I like how you didn't know that. Okay. Damn it.
What did you love about this?
Festus kind of really hit it on the head. The way they gave everybody enough of their time, minus, T'Challa and everybody we just talked about, was an Avengers movie. That's what an Avengers movie is. I'm just waiting for that moment where we get literally all of them on scene. That'll be the fucking balls out best scene ever in all these Marvel movies. I did have problems, obviously. I think we've already talked about those.
Does anybody want to get to? You guys ready to get to problems, or are there specific things?
Just about.
But overall, this movie
go
was
on.
a fantastic movie. It was so worth the 10 years that I had waited for this movie.
I agree with that.
I didn't think that I would say that, and I've had like quite a few beers now, and now I feel like I'm finally ready to say that now. Like it kind of was, But to Idify's
He's going to say I love you. Here it comes.
To Idify's point, he's saying, well, this is an Avengers movie. It is, right? But I've seen a couple of them. Already. This didn't feel like this doesn't feel like no Avengers movie to me. It definitely, it was an Avengers movie, but it had tonally, it felt so different, so new, and so fresh. I loved it. It was great. I'm not going to score to 10 though.
So here's one of the things that I've struggled with in past MCU movies that this movie just nailed, and that was the CGI. At no point in time did I find myself going, oh my god, it's a bunch of CGI blobs floating in a big black space and blah, blah, blah. I bought into, and this includes the scene where he throws a fucking moon at him. Like, if you had said to me, okay, Thanos is going to throw a moon, I would have been like, don't do that! There's no way you can pull that off. and they pulled it off. So I got to give.
See, they pulled that
props.
off, but the moment when the truckload of Wakandan soldiers show up before they actually turn into real people, they looked like Lego people. I noticed that. That was the only part I noticed, and I went, ew.
And the Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster suit, oh man, it looked like he was standing on like a stool in front of a green screen.
Taylor, I gotta be honest, I think you're the only person to complain about
In
that.
his defense, the second time I saw it, I was looking out for that.
did
and
you?
he is totally right. It
All right,
looks
fair enough.
pretty corny.
And to go against him, the second time I saw it, I didn't notice it at all.
Dude, it's when he's in the Hulkbuster suit, right? Yeah, for sure.
At the end of the movie, when people are like fucking vanishing.
Yeah, it's like, what happened? Like, yeah, he looks bad.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We want to get to the bad, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, where do we go?
I think, yeah, since we touched so much on the characters and all the great moments they had, and yeah, let's talk about the bad. Do we want to go straight into the fact that this isn't two movies? Because
I think we should
that's
get
the
that
biggest-
out of the way.
Yeah.
right
Problem
about
is that there's
now-ish.
not much to say outside of that, in my opinion. Do you think that we all have a lot to say outside of that?
I do.
No, I think we all have the same problem with the movie.
I don't have a problem with it being two
But
movies.
I think we should tell our audience what our problem is.
Okay.
I've got quite a few fucking problems. I don't
I
have
do
to
too.
touch on all of them.
I have like
Lord.
I had three or four problems.
So
overall.
I want to say this. I don't yet know if my challenges with this movie are a problem or not. Depending on how that next movie goes, this could be a total 10 movie for me. I simply don't know. And that is challenging.
Well,
No,
that ties.
that's not challenging.
and
You got to
hold on,
score
but-
this movie as an
Oh,
individual.
no, I
movie,
understand.
man.
But what I'm saying is that feeling is
Oh, it
uncomfortable.
might
to
not
me.
feel good, but yeah.
That is the same feeling I'm having with this movie as well.
Shut up, you're
I will
gonna
give it a
10.
score, but no, I actually want to give it a 5 because I do not think this movie is over.
Yeah, I
But
just
I'm
don't
not-
think it's over.
Right, I don't think
And-
it's over.
And the problem
This
is
This is just the beginning of what's to come, and
And
that's like Pez.
yeah, but you gave
that's
Iron Man a
what's-
10 for
what's
being
for.
the beginning of what's to come.
No, but that movie on its own was its own story. Yeah, this was Thanos' own story, but it wasn't the rest of the characters' own story.
that is exactly my problem, is that I don't understand. I don't know what happened. A story is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I've got a beginning and a middle, and I have no ending. And not for any of the characters. And here's the deal. I didn't need an ending for every character. What I was hoping for was that this would be an ending for, say, half of the
I wanted a
characters.
handoff.
I wanted a handoff. Exactly.
Didn't you get a handoff? Didn't we talk about that?
No, that was a straight up BJ. It was awesome.
I wanted the fall of the old guard and the rise of the new guard, and this ending was the polar opposite of that.
That's
and
exactly
I would
it.
have even been okay with us being clueless about. I talked about this, I think, with Taylor, where I would have been okay if you saw one person turn to dust.
Lucky.
And then you got the perspective of, like, let's say it's Cap. Let's say it's Cap that we see. And we see Cap, we just see his face looking around, and we can kind of see in his eyes that people are fading away.
But we don't know who they
we don't
are.
have any clue who's fading away.
Wouldn't that have been perfect?
Yeah.
Like, no, we have no idea who's faded away, so we all come out of that movie going, like, who's gone?
And
Who did we lose?
I think it was this one, and I think it was this.
Do you think that we lost
Tommy,
Cap? Do you
that
think we
would have
lost
been the coolest fucking thing ever.
Yes,
If
where we
didn't
have
know.
no idea. But not only do we know
I'd
who,
never considered that.
That also would have
That
pissed
I
off
think
so
dropped
many.
it like a point for
I
me.
want a recut with that. Like they're like, holy shit, that podcast was right. And then
Yeah,
the
but-
DVD release has that as the
But
ending.
then again, we would have had the thing where it's like, once we know a confirmed cast for the second one, I'd be like, oh, we'd have been pissed off because it would have spoiled that. But
Not necessarily, because the scene, because similar to how Loki is on the poster and has, like, he's in the movie for half a second. The next movie could have started with, like, showing everything that we saw in this one, where it's like all these superheroes disappearing. Like, the next one the first opening scene
Oh my
is
God.
just, like, literally picking up right where it left off.
And if that scene had happened, like, can you imagine the gasps if T'Challa disappeared in the
Yeah.
first scene of this
In the
next
first
movie?
scene, exactly.
Like,
That would have blown everyone away.
Yeah.
but that would have meant he would have had to have had more screen
But
time.
we
in
would
this
have
movie.
known at that would be
yeah.
the point where we know what the next movie is. When we're at the beginning of the next movie, that's when we should know what the next movie is. Instead, we know what the next movie is based on this movie, where we know where all we have left standing. I have a list. Here's who's left standing: Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, War Machine, Nebula, Rocket, Okoye, and then Okoye, Shuri. No, we saw Okoye, Shuri, M'Baku, and Wong. Those 3 are said to still be around, but we didn't get visual confirmation.
Hey, I'll tell you what I don't get. Right. So if I were Thanos and I came to Earth, right, and it's like, okay, clearly it's half the big majority of things is people on this planet. It's the most obvious bit.
Yeah.
So I'll take out half the people, right?
Is your question, did he kill half the hummingbirds?
No, it's not that. It's, as far as we know in the Marvel universe, at least in the MCU, there's not an overabundance of Groots. Whatever the fuck he is. And he's like, nope, gotta kill him too. That kind of annoyed me a little bit. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, okay, because Gamora had the race of Gamoran people. Whatever they were. Green people. Right? So it's like half of those people died. Makes sense. He slaughtered half of them.
Holy shit.
What?
He just, like, when he was, like, snapped his fingers, granted, in the, like, it's a direct correlation to the comics, but like, did he have to think of every single race that existed and say, yes, half of that, but not the Gamora's people, I already halved them? Like, how did that work?
So let's come back to Thanos,
because I think that Thanos, and again, I'm just speculating here, but I think that Thanos having the control over these stones and having the ability, like, how do you know that snapping your fingers makes half the population disappear? Unless you have to, like, you have to have some sort of idea in your mind about what is happening. And he has an idea of what he's doing, and I think that he has some, like, there is a choice that exists within him that we don't get the visible, like, we don't get to see.
And we know for him it's supposed to be random because that's important to him. That's what makes it fair in his mind.
He's like, I saw this movie called The Hunger Games.
What we don't know is
once.
what his rules are for how that works.
No, sorry. Go ahead. Just that it's like all the species that exist in the universe. Fucking prick. Like, was there a conscious thought? Was it just, hey, stones, half the universe?
Yeah. Are the stones like a?
You don't think when he has the Mind Stone that like fully makes him kind of like an omnipotent character?
That's what I think.
I'm not worried about the logistics of like how he did it.
Well, the Mind Stone's the last one he got, right?
Yep.
So whenever he had that, he maybe became omnipotent to every being in the universe.
Probably, thanks a lot, Scarlet bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because there was a scene where every time he puts a gem in, it seems like he's almost feeling what's the gem doing, or like he has a sense of the gem. But real quick, so one thing about the ending that Major Tom posed. I've already had that kind of ending happen to me. And the wait to find out what the end result was fucking I hated it. And it happened with Walking Dead and deciding on who Negan was going to kill. And there was that whole year gap that we were waiting. I fucking hated that. I'm so glad they didn't do that this time.
He didn't say who he killed. He just said Negan killed somebody.
I really liked that.
I want to go back to something. You and I were texting back and forth, and I don't mean to like put a bullet in your brain with this out of 5, but like you and I were texting back and forth, and you mentioned that you got emotional during the movie, and I was talking about the whole Peter thing, and you called you the thing pussy, between Rocket and Groot. when Groot disappeared, that got you really emotional, and to me, every single one of those people disappearing, the moment, okay, you see Bucky disappear, oh my God, this just happened. Then the next person you see disappear is T'Challa, and the moment that T'Challa disappeared, I completely lost any interest in who was after him.
Me too.
Because I knew... Yeah, because I knew that T'Challa was going to be back.
Yeah, they've
already said that there are going to be more Black Panther movies. His character is too important. They're not going to leave Black Panther dead. So once it's like, and then it's like, oh, here's Peter Parker now dead. It's like, oh, okay, so what you're doing is killing off everybody who's going to be in future movies, who already has future movies. And the characters that you leave standing are characters that already had their trilogies, outside of like Scarlet Witch or Hulk or whatever, but there's reasons for Hulk. Anyway, none of those, like, them disappearing had any emotional weight to them because you know they're going to be back.
Yeah.
There was no weight whatsoever.
That was my problem.
I agree. I 100% agree. But where I got emotional was, and I'm just assuming that I'm thinking of the minds of the characters at that moment. It's like I've been with Rocket and Groot for so long, and for Rocket to see Groot just evaporate, for me, like I felt for that character so much. It was heartbreaking. Same with Stark and Peter, especially because we got that whole, father-son kind of dynamic with those two moments. For me, completely made me start crying. The rest of the characters I knew, like I said, even the ones that disappeared, I know they're coming back. But I just look at the mind of the character and what they're going through at that moment. And it just that made me start bawling.
I love how this is me, I get where you're coming from. But I like it, I've been with those characters for so long, Rocket and Groot, and it's like combined total of 4 hours runtime.
But I was taken out of the movie by the as soon as T'Challa disappeared. I was taken out of the movie, so like any emotional attachment that I had to any characters was completely shot at that point.
Completely stopped giving a shit. As an informed viewer, I stopped giving a shit.
Well, what movie was it where I compared it to this right after we watched it before I bounced, like when we got out of the theater, where he's like you say one more thing, you're gonna get detention. And he's like, all right. And he's like, detention. And he's like,
Club?
Yeah. He's like, want to go for another? And he's like, yeah, sure. He's like, want to go for 10 more? Yeah, fuck you. All right, how about 100 more? And he's like, I don't give a shit. That's how I felt like that movie.
He's like, oh, just keep making people disappear.
It's
Once
like,
you show me that you're gonna fix it all.
I know that you've signed off for more movies with these characters. It's like, you want to go for more? Go for it. Like, fucking throw your worst
just
at me.
kill everybody.
Throw your worst at me, you bitch.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Major Tom. I've been looking at some videos, and
that was DK.
One of the
speaking,
videos.
by the way?
No, I was talking about Major Tom's thing. I wasn't paying attention to what you said. Kevin Feige did an interview, and he was talking about one of his biggest regrets. One of them was the fact that they had to, cut the part 2 of this whole thing because the audiences now know something's happening. But another thing that occurred to me was them putting their movies out in advance. That kind of also ruins that scene to an extent because, like you said, we know there's a trilogy for each one of these characters. So, I thought that was
announcing that all the other movies are coming.
Yeah.
Even
exactly.
had they not announced that all those movies were coming,
I knew there was another Black
I would
Panther.
not have bought into the fact that all the #new Avengers would be disappearing. Yeah. It's like, even if I knew that no movies were coming after this, let's say that I think that Infinity War, that this is the very last movie in the MCU, and everybody that disappears just happens to be all the new characters, and everybody that lives happens to be all the old characters, then I still wouldn't have bought into it, because that these characters have to have an ending. When I say these characters, I mean like the Phase 1 characters, and that this is not an ending for them. I don't know.
Hashtag not my Infinity War ending.
But think of it this way.
Hashtag me too.
And I think what Feige's getting at was, look at the last Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. We know it's Ultron. And I think as a viewer and a fan of these things, we put ourselves at such high expectations for these movies. And I think that's one of the things that I find interesting about Feige's comment is that, hey, we know Ultron's coming. What's the deal? It kind of almost sets the bar a little too high for some of these.
So you're saying that because we knew Thanos was coming, that something like this was going to happen?
Yeah. But like I said, all this ties back into Feige's original comment. But
knowing that it's going to happen doesn't change how poorly they did what they did.
Yeah.
Because I'm fine with half of the characters disappearing. I'm fine with the half that did disappear. I just don't like the idea of that being the final moment or moments of this film, of being like, basically, the very first scene of this film is all about high stakes. It's like, holy shit, all the Asgardians are dead. Holy shit, Heimdall's dead. Holy shit, Loki's dead. Holy shit, Hulk just got his ass kicked. The stakes have never been higher. And the end of the movie said, stakes don't matter.
Never mind. I was gonna say, I feel like, they made one long movie, and then when they were doing test screenings for it, they were like, hashtag time's up. And then we have to do this in 2. Somebody stop me. No,
So here's the thing.
Yeah, please.
Based on this second movie, this could be amazing.
It absolutely will be amazing. The second movie is going to be rad. We now have this full understanding that the next movie is going to have a huge focus on all of the old Avengers and closing out all of their arcs and giving them tons of time and giving them all these amazing scenes and giving me the stuff that I wanted with Cap and giving me the stuff between. Yeah, we're getting all of that.
But they did a bad job of getting me excited about it and getting me interested in it. And they did a bad job of making me care about what happened at the end of the first
bullshit. Like, I'm not in joking mode. I mean, like, I am more stoked for Infinity Wars 2 now. Like,
seriously?
I don't feel slighted like at all.
Really?
I think that they made a shitty decision by making it seem like setting false expectations for, like, not the fact that it's a complete film, which they did, which we'll get to here in just a second, but I think they fucked up by, like, you know, saying, like, well, stakes are going to be higher than ever, and then fucking that up. I agree with you on that.
The IGN review, or a review discussion I saw, they said they wrote themselves into a corner, and I agree with that.
Yes, but I don't feel like the reason this movie split into two, I don't feel like that fucked with my movie-going experience.
It's similar to how I feel about Lord of the Rings or anything like that. Like,
oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
This is the opposite of Lord of the Rings for me.
Well, let me just say that I have an expectation based on stuff that I have read in just, you know, allusions that can be drawn from what happened in this film, that I don't like how it ended. I want Major Tom's ending in print. Like, but is that, hey, this is much more it's much more than the sum of its parts, and this is part 1. So once part 2 happens, holy shit, I'm gonna watch a 5-hour, you know, burn through.
But let me give you an example of a really good ending to a movie that is a sequel, and that is the end of Fellowship of the Ring. That movie ended with the death of a main character and all of the characters to being split off from each other and a real uncertainty of what was going to happen next. And the ending of this movie is a magic trick that everybody can see through instantly.
That's why I said Major Tom's ending.
Pepev,
like,
well said.
Yeah.
That was a fucking good-ass comparison. I do want to point out, you comparing you know, this whole thing to Lord of the Rings, and Pev being like, I find this to be the opposite. These bombastic comic book hero movies, I find it to be the opposite of Lord of the Rings. Might be my favorite thing that's ever been said on this podcast.
Do you want to play that audio clip?
I would love to. And this is one thing that Pepe. It's weird that we don't see eye to eye on this, because we are the only two people here
who didn't
watch any of the trailers, or didn't watch any pre-screening interviews. I made sure to look up nothing about this movie.
Yeah.
So it's funny because yesterday I dog sitting for a buddy, and he had seen the movie right before he came over to drop off his dog. And was like, yeah, I just saw Infinity War, and he's like, you know, I thought that it was gonna be like one long movie, like, or like it was gonna be like, this is gonna be the only one, because there was some interview that I saw where these guys said like, oh, this is gonna like wrap it up, it's not like a two-part, and I was like, nah, as far as I know, I've always had the expectation that it's gonna be a fucking two-parter. But yeah, that leads us into the interview with, who is this, Tommy?
It's I don't remember her name, but it was an interview with someone from Yahoo, and it was her as the interviewer, and the Russo brothers, who are the directors of Infinity War and Civil War. And
she asked them one particular question, and I didn't see this interview. And Pepev, I know you didn't either.
I didn't see it till I came in the door, and I got angry. It was literally playing on the TV when I came in, and I started just getting ready to start shouting. So I look forward to hearing
this interview came out about 2 weeks ago. About a week and a half ago.
I feel like
when the Russos and a bunch of the actors were on a press jump.
My expectations would have been vastly different had I heard this interview, but here it is. This is the directors and the writers, or is it writer-director?
It's just the directors. They are writers. They work with the writers.
Doesn't matter. They are representatives of this fucking film.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
It's their baby.
Very separate movies. Yeah. You know, is it going to end on a cliffhanger? Like, are we going to be like, oh, dun dun dun? Like,
I mean, it's a complete story. You know, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the next movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end. In the same way that Civil War handed off to Infinity War, Infinity War will hand off to the next movie. So, you know, it's serialized storytelling without question. So there is going to be a correlation narratively, but we really wanted to make two distinct movies. We weren't interested in making one long film and getting out the scissors and cutting it in half. But it's just, we don't find that a satisfying, you know, cinematic experience. So this is a complete story. That's a complete story, and they're very different movies.
I agree 100%. That is not a satisfying cinematic experience.
You are so
They're like,
full
we
of
didn't
shit.
take the scissors and just cut it in half. It's like,
that I find to be the most like egregious thing that guy said is like just like we're just gonna cut it and be like, whoops, see you later. This is an obvious like
serialized
AMC network television style fuck you, see you next season ending.
and it's like I watch Civil
Yeah, it
War.
is.
And yeah, there are some things in Civil War that you're curious about where they're going to go with next. What are they going
Absolutely.
to do with certain characters? How are they going to do certain things? But Civil War had a complete ending. It's like, oh man, this is a great setup for like what the future is about.
No, listen, you could have ended with Civil War and it would have been like, okay, shit's
The
just
Avengers
not-
broke up. That's
nothing
it.
is perfect. This one, it's like, oh, tune in next time to see who lives
Next
after
time
fighting
on Dragon Ball
Thanos. Will Spider-Man come back to do his other 2 movies in the trilogy? Find out next week. Like, fuck you. Like, and the ending, I will say this, is so abrupt. It comes really quick.
It does.
Everyone just like straight up goes "Ugh," and dies, and then it's Thanos like, guess my job here is done, boys.
Yeah, but I really,
And then credits started fucking rolling, and it was like, that was quick.
but I really did like that end piece for him. Not the entire sequence.
No,
with
the end of
them
him
disappearing.
like being like, I did it. I won.
content.
That was
You know,
great.
like
not
hey,
my one, but like, my job here is done.
you know, almost like a Frodo. It's done. It's finished.
There's this famous picture of like it's a monkey like pushing a guy's head underwater, and he looks really sad, and it's like, drowning monkey takes no pleasure in his job. Like, that's how I saw Thanos like throughout this movie. Like, but yeah, like I said, I thought that was like one of the most impactful scenes in the movies. I was like, oh, he was serious when he's like, I get to go home once I do this. I don't want to perpetually conquer and rule. I mean, he rules, but you know.
Anything else that anybody wants to discuss before we score it?
I want to talk about the Infinity Stones.
I want to talk about Thanos' plan.
Uh-oh. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. The feasibility of it, you mean?
I don't understand it. I don't like okay, so here's the deal. Thanatos and Eros is literally the god that he's named after, and Thanatos is the god of death. And the story of these two gods is their interrelationship, that if you only have Eros, you only have sex and life, that life breeds out of control, and if you only have death, then everything is death and misery, and the two have to be an interplay between each other. All we get in this movie is death, and it's stupid. It's like he doesn't understand that time happens and that people fuck. Like, I do not understand his plan. It does not make any sense. Okay, it's 5 o'clock now. I'm killing half of everybody. We're just going to be in the same problem in another eon, but apparently that's not important to you. It makes zero sense.
Well, it's not his fault because Captain America is the man with the plan.
No, listen, so I had that thought too, and it's like, well, I'm sure that will be answered at some point. And I'm not like bummed out about it, or, you know, maybe it's up to a little bit of speculation. Maybe he's like, I can provide peace for 1,000 years. That's the best I can do, right? Maybe that's what it is. Or
maybe he's going to come back. Maybe he's immortal now.
I
don't know any of these things. None of these were addressed, and without it, his plan makes no sense.
Well, right. Well, Pempiv, like, I think this is where you and I differ on this. Like, I think I've been conditioned playing Dark Souls and Bloodborne. So much has to be left up to interpretation in those, where it's like little things like that, where it's like, well, I can think of 2 scenarios. One, I don't know how long Titans live. I'm sure somebody does out there.
Well, they were born...
Or Titans with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Well,
I will give you...
Maybe he is eternal. He's going to be like the Reapers in Mass Effect, and he's going to rest, sequester himself away, and come back. I don't know.
You give me a Reaper story, I'm good with that.
Or
you give me a story where he's immortal, you give me anything other than a stupid half plan that doesn't work.
You know, he's just like, look, I can provide peace for 1,000 years, and hopefully they make the right choice.
That again
forward.
would have been a satisfying
but
answer.
That's like, I'm fine with that being left up to my interpretation. That doesn't offend me or bother me plot wise. Somehow, that seems like some shit I'd really latch on to and hate, but I don't know. I just didn't.
So, do you think that they were expecting people to kind of be informed? Because, like me, I'm very familiar with Thanos, his backstory, and all of that. And yes, I'm a little bit more prepared to make my own correlations and interpretations. So I just don't know if they were trying to leverage that fact that there would be a whole bunch of people like me in that regard, but like I just don't see them reasonably being able to bring in death as a character into this
Well, hold
fucking
on.
story.
Idify, what were you saying?
Well, okay, so Peb, I agree with you 100%. I'm going to tie this into you, DKP, right now. What I think we're going to get in the next movie is I think we're going to get those Celestials, the Beyonders, and all of them confronting Thanos and telling him why he was wrong. Now,
Like,
DKP,
what the fuck, dude?
if that does come to fruition, because it happened in the comics where he was confronted by these all-powerful mighty beings, would that disappoint you?
No, and that's what I mean by this
No,
story
I'm
could be
talking
great.
to DKP. I'm talking to
sorry.
DKP because he was content with the story as it is. But if this scenario does take place like it did in the comics, would that disappoint you?
Wait, are you insinuating that I think Thanos is good to just relax permanently and he's not going to be in the next movie?
No, but you were saying that you're content. You were content
I'm
with his
saying, like,
plan, and that
no,
you have to take certain things into its own interpretation.
No. I know that this shit will be fleshed out, like how all this kind of ends and all that. Like, but I'm saying is like, even if this is how it ended,
You're okay with it?
I'd be kind of okay with it.
All right, so I do want to say...
So no, I won't be disappointed because I know they're going to throw all this down the garbage. We were just talking
Right,
about that.
and that's but that also, I think it also goes to Peb's idea with mine, in where it's hard to review this movie because we know that's coming. So everything that we just saw, we know it's not gonna matter. So then, like, when you're reviewing the movie and you realize what the aftermath of it was, like, how do you review it on that front?
Without Back to the Future 3, Back to the Future 2 is still real good.
Right, but this isn't a Back to the Future 2.
Well, I'm just
that's the problem.
That's why I'm going to score it right now, not knowing what's coming in the future. And if this movie retroactively gets shittier, I can't go on record on the podcast and change my score today. So
I do want to say that that your suggestion of what happens to Thanos in the next movie is awesome, and I hope we just get cuts to Thanos and he's like drinking a margarita the whole movie.
he's listening to Jimmy Buffett.
He's living in Jimmy Buffett. He's just hanging out.
I don't know. I one of the comics that I grew up reading was Infinity War, and even the next one that's even after that, the Infinity Saw. I forgot what it was, but where all the clones happen. Seeing Thanos on that farm with his suit as the fucking Scarecrow, that was the moment that Taylor was talking about. That was my moment.
If anyone here has played Fallout New Vegas and they know about the super mutant orc, the purple one with the daisy hat, that's the farmer in the mountains.
He
I
does
would
look
like
a lot
him to
like
look
him,
like
yeah.
that.
We've talked about villain motivations quite a bit in this 20 episode run, and I don't necessarily think that this villain for not knowing in game makes him worse or better than any other villain. It's like, oh, so Killmonger's just gonna give everybody these amazing weapons? I mean, does he not expect everybody to fucking roll on him? So I guess Killmonger's a weak villain now. Like, think about every single villain in every single MCU film. Like, there are ramifications for every event that happens. Like, there will be ramifications. And yes, there are ramifications. Like, yes, it's probably not the best idea. What's his plan in 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years?
But
I don't know. What's Killmonger's plan in 5 days?
Fucking got him.
But
What's everybody's plan in 5
That
days?
didn't get nothing.
the difference.
Killmonger had a start and end. Thanos doesn't have an end.
Exactly.
What if he
Here's
died
the
at the end of this
difference.
movie?
Or Thanos doesn't have a start either, and that's my problem, is that I know how Killmonger felt, and when in that last scene where he was dying on that thing, I intimately understood where Killmonger was coming from and what he wanted to do, and I do not have that feeling about Thanos.
But what was Killmonger's plan if he did arm everyone?
Yeah.
He's like, once I harm poor people,
it's
we'll
not
see how it goes.
It's not a
It was all oppressors. So
I
who were all
understand
the...
where Killmonger is coming from, and I understand his objectives in doing his thing. Thanos' plan is so fundamentally flawed from the beginning that I can't even get behind it.
We talked about this
Pevin,
2 hours ago.
You got him.
Nobody didn't, because we talked about this 2 hours ago.
I'm being completely sarcastic.
I know, but we all discussed and agreed. We all discussed and agreed. What are you guys doing?
Just keep going.
Doing side talk. we all agreed that we agreed to disagree because I
yeah,
feel
no,
like
no, it's-
80% of us completely understand his motivation, and his motivation makes sense. And like what he went through as a character from his birth to his death, I think that there is enough in this film to tell us what he has gone through and what he is going to go through, that all these things that you're talking about that the movie is missing in terms of what is his plan long term.
My question isn't even long
us.
term. My question is short term. His
He's
plan
gonna
doesn't
chill.
solve his problem. That's my problem.
He's gonna chill.
I will agree to disagree on this topic.
not only
but
that, I
my,
mean-
my point is that I don't understand his plan. It doesn't work. And because of that, and I don't understand if it's because Thanos is just crazy, or if it's because Thanos hasn't thought through his plan, or I just don't understand what Thanos is doing. I
But not only
understand
that-
what Killmonger is doing. He's angry
Right.
and he's making choices based on his anger, and his anger is based on this experience he had, which is a story that I've been told. Thanos, I can make up a story. I could tell you a story about Thanos, but I have no way of knowing what actually is going on with
I
Thanos
feel-
based on the story.
Thanos' plan
And
is
I get
fundamentally
that you
flawed.
have
because
enough.
there's
We're
gonna
just
be
going back to
people there
something that we
I
talked
was
about.
gonna say, I feel
We're
like we
gonna
need to put the
challenge
kibosh
him.
on this.
Yeah,
Move
okay.
forward.
Yeah, we're just going back
Because
to
like,
something else.
because the whole bit is like, I feel like we got that story. Other people didn't feel like we got that story,
Yeah,
but we all
we're just
saw the
going back
same
to that.
movie. So
Okay, so just to wrap up my negative thoughts on it, Cap didn't get the movie he deserved,
that's true.
and I'm a huge
Agreed.
Cap fan. The Black Order were not that strong, and there was no emotional resonance or impact of all those characters disappearing at the end of the movie. Who's next?
That pretty much sums up my issues, minus the fact that Infinity Stones weren't worth a goddamn in this movie unless Thanos had them. Like, once I have them, they're really powerful, like they were in all the previous movies. But Vision? Nah, you can't do none of that shit. That bugged the fuck out of me, but
With the exception
not
of
a huge deal.
of Doctor Strange, who was choosing not to use his. So his made sense to me. Everybody else made no
Right,
sense.
but it's like, if there was a time to use it, Steven, it's now, right?
Come on, Steven. Come on.
No, come on, man. But no, I think I'm ready to score it. How about anyone
Anybody else want to say anything before we score it?
All right, let's score this bitch.
9.5.
8.5.
8.0.
I'm with Tommy. 9.5.
A third 9.5.
There you go.
Idify?
I to 5.
9.5.
What?
Wow.
Not a 10?
I thought you said a 5 earlier.
Man, I had he given it a 5, I'd have lost my fucking mind.
Well, I want to give it a 5, but that's not fair to
But then
what
give
we're
it a
doing here.
5.
It's a 5 then.
Okay, it's a
All
5.
right.
There it is.
You can't take that back. There's no takes
No, I'm not.
backsies.
No,
Okay.
but then guess what? When the next movie comes out
It's a 10.
and it's another 5, this is going to be a total of a 10.
Out of 20 points, though.
Out of
A 10 out
5.
of 20 points.
Okay, remember how we were talking about how what do you consider like a mad titan? Right? Like, is he insane? I don't understand
I
this.
said 9.5.
And how Peviv's like, I just don't fucking get it. Now Peviv, never mind. I've total reversed it on you. I'm giving this movie a 7. No.
That's why I said a 9.5, but then you wanted me to bring back my 5 the way I was originally going to vote.
I'm just saying.
So yeah. So
Based on
if,
this-
if
based
I'm
on this movie
including
alone,
both
man?
of these movies, then it's a 5. And if the next Avengers lives up to it, it's a 5 in both of these because I consider them a 2-part or a 1
no,
collective.
Out of
It's
5.
a 10.
What do you consider just this movie? 9.5?
That's yes.
Then stick with the 9.5.
What do you consider Return of the Jedi? Do you consider that a part of 9 movies, or do you consider that a
Tommy?
movie on its own?
Stop it.
All right.
Yeah, you're crawling back into
we're
that.
digging deeper
Yeah.
into a hole right now.
I see what you're doing, and I don't like it.
I bet you do like
Because I've been on the receiving end of it too many times. I know
But you
I
know
know what
I'm
you're
right.
doing.
You know I'm right. This is a complete film. So says the directors, even.
That's what I said. I said, well, no. Their shit was misleading as fuck, but
This review was brought to you by Ben & Jerry's Holka Holka Burnin' Love ice
Oh,
cream.
yeah.
Also, the Williams arcade game Defender. And Vans. Thanks, guys.
that is fucking shocking. This movie was ripe as fuck for product
It
placement.
didn't really have a lot.
Didn't have a lot at all.
I'm glad. Sure, who's gonna be upset they're not being advertised to? But I'm shocked that that's like all there is.
And even Vans is like, We saw the shot of Peter Parker and we're like, is he wearing Vans? And then you hover over and it's like, here are the Vans that Peter Parker wore in this movie. It doesn't even have the word Vans or anything.
Doctor
like that.
Strange
I
should
took
have
a
been
while.
like,
I took a wild
Yeah.
guess. I was like,
Tasty
are those
guess, though.
Vans?
Doctor
It's time.
Strange. Doctor Strange should have been like, nice Vans, kid.
It's time for Secrets of the Marvel Universe.
Universe.
Number one, Vormir, the location of the Soul Stone. It's part of the Kree Empire. So, please be excited for Kree stuff. Number two,
That means Ronan's an idiot.
Arrested Development. So these guys directed a bunch of episodes of Arrested Development. They put a stair car in Civil War. And this, they had Tobias Funke when he's blue in one of the collector's cases.
Oh.
I did not see
I
him
didn't
the
either.
first time or the second time when I was
Was it
looking
actually
for him.
David Cross?
No. But I was looking for it because it was a guy dressed in blue with blue jean shorts on.
Oh my
Blue
god!
jean
That's
cutoffs.
fucking hilarious.
That would have like scored this movie a 10 for
I
me.
knew it was in the
seen-
movie, and when the collector scene came up, I was like looking like I was playing Where's Waldo, and I could not fucking find
That's
it.
going to be a DVD.
So somebody's going to have to
pause.
show me. Somebody's going to have to draw a picture of it. But the directors did confirm that was the Easter egg, the Arrested Development Easter egg. Loki saying, we have a Hulk. In Avengers, Loki talks about having an army. Tony responds with, we have a Hulk. Loki uses the same line at the beginning of Infinity War when talking with Thanos before Hulk jumps into the screen and gets his ass kicked.
Wow,
by Thanos.
Tommy, I don't think anyone made that connection. Is this really a secret?
Well, if you haven't seen it,
I'm just fun.
If you haven't seen it in a long
I
time.
do want to get this bit out though.
Number-
Ancient Chinese secret.
Yep. Number 4. When Tony is talking to Pepper about having a kid, he references her Uncle Morgan. In the comics, Tony has an Uncle Morgan whose jealousy towards Tony transforms him into the supervillain Ultimo.
Ultimo.
Yeah, not that Ultimo. Anything but that.
Number 5. Strange's cloak slaps the shit out of Tony when he's leaning on the Cauldron of Cosmos. The Cauldron of Cosmos was used on a handful of occasions to allow Strange to look deep into the history of the world.
Do you have slaps the shit out of written down?
I do.
Okay, great. I just want to
I
make
absolutely do. Number 6, we talked about Groot playing Defender. The game is probably not a coincidence, since it challenges players to take out wave after wave of alien enemies while trying to protect them from abducting humans on the planet's surface below. Number 7, when Thanos turns Drax into blocks and Mantis into ribbon. This is pulled straight from the Infinity War comics, but it happens to 2 different characters.
And was very well done, I thought.
Yeah, that scene was dope. Number 8.
I thought they were gone. I thought those two characters were dead in
Me
that
too.
scene.
Number 8, Spider-Man makes another old movie reference. Alien. Number 9, Tony calls Peter Quill Flash Gordon, which Peter takes as a compliment.
Yep.
Number 10, another Peter Quill old school reference was Thanos being called Grimace.
I did enjoy that one. It was like Peter Quill stealing Tony's thunder on that one.
Yeah. Number 11, while acquiring the Soul Stone, Red Skull already knows who Thanos is and references a character named Alars. In the comics, Alars is Thanos' father. That's it.
How do we miss
There's a picture that's floating around right now. So if you guys just Google Tobias Funke, it's floating around. Where am I? When Spider-Man is fighting Thanos, he tosses web into Thanos' eyes and then gets slammed into the ground. These images are pulled straight from the Infinity War comic. Ibon Bet. That word translates. This is number 13. The word translates to hold and is used here to rally troops to stand fast, knowing that Wakanda lays unprotected behind them. Don't know why that part's in there, but it is. Number 14. After fighting with the Outriders, Cap's suit is torn and tattered. You can see his blue scale armor under the holes in his costume. So his badass, like, ultimate Avengers costume that's, like, blue and scaly, it's under the other outfit. Sick.
We'll be seeing
Like, we
that
saw the
next time,
pictures.
baby.
We saw the pictures, and it was, like, of the holes and stuff, and you could see the scales. So
I
badass.
have not seen those.
So badass. Number 15. The new hammer is inspired by 2 different arcs. One in the Ultimates, where Thor creates Ultimate Mjolnir, which is half hammer and half axe. And the second is Beta Ray Bill's hammer.
I was wondering if it was
which is called
based
the
on
Stormbreaker.
Beta Ray Bill's.
Bill.
Yeah, it's a combination of both. Because Beta Ray Bill's hammer, or Stormbreaker in the comics, looks different than this axe. This axe looks like the
Beta Ray
Ultimate
Bill.
Mjolnir.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a combination of both of those stories. Number 16, the infamous snap is basically the same event from the comics, straight from there.
Yep.
Number 17, after snapping his fingers, he appears in a blank orange world that has a singular structure and a little girl version of Gamora. It's the world inside of the Soul Stone. fittingly known as Soul World. It's basically heaven, intended to keep the souls absorbed into the Infinity Stones content and a paradise for all eternity. That is previously meant a chance to resurrect fallen heroes in the comics, so here's hoping this inclusion means Gamora's possible return is being kept in play for a future film.
Like I say, this is Soul World, baby. It's the only way I can hear that.
So yeah, do you guys think that we're gonna see the Soul World? I mean, we've already seen it in this movie; it exists. So do you guys think that we're gonna see it in the next one, and that's where all the other characters are?
Yes.
And there's gonna be a whole like story about them trying to figure out how to get the fuck out or
I have
accept it or
a couple
whatever.
of different theories on how they could handle it.
Go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So one of my theories, the one I'm hoping for, which is almost definitely not going to be it because it's way too Twilight Zone, is I hope he split the universe in two. I hope that there's a universe where all the people who disappeared are just in another universe. And we get like the beginning of the next movie is all the people who didn't disappear disappearing for all the people who did disappear. And then we have two universes and they have to figure out how to put them back together.
See, but that's what I said
multiverse.
earlier.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, here's a hot take. How about he just creates more fucking planets with food on them?
Yeah.
There's
And
something
then
I
you
wanna
don't
talk
have to
about
do
so
that.
bad, but it is the end of that thing, like what you're talking about. So it would be ruining that thing. So I'm not going to talk
What
about that
thing?
If I say the thing, then you now know the ending of that thing that I'm talking about. So I shouldn't have even brought it up. But
That was incredibly mysterious. Well done.
Yes,
Yes.
it was.
there's something that is how it ends,
I
and
thought
it
we
is
were
so
past
good.
spoilers, Tom.
It is so good.
I thought we were past spoilers.
It is so good.
Let's move forward. I know what it is.
Yeah,
no,
that's
no
it.
more secrets.
That's it for Secrets of the Marvel Universe.
What's that what I meant?
Hey, Pepe, this is a sequel of the Marvel universe, okay?
For our next
that's
segment, our friend Stanley. Peb, will you tell us about this Stan Lee cameo?
After the brilliant distraction by Ned, all the kids are going crazy staring at the spaceship crashing down and
Space Donut?
the space donut crashing down. And from the driver's seat of the school bus shouts our friend Stanley.
You kids never seen a spaceship before?
It was brilliant.
It was such a good post-credit scene. Stan Lee has gone
That
on
was
record.
not a post-credit scene.
I mean, I'm sorry, Stan Lee moment. That Stan Lee has gone on record to say that was his favorite all-time.
It's my
cameo.
favorite too because it's exactly what I want out of a Stan Lee moment.
I don't know, man. The one where he was the fucked up ass barber, like
The
"Hold
barber in
still,
Thor Ragnarok.
my hands ain't as good as they used to be. That's still, I think, my favorite.
do not touch me with those blades, or whatever.
I think
he
that
said.
one's still my favorite. But this was subtle. It was perfect for like, get Jesus Christ! Look at all the bullshit that happens. You never seen a spaceship? It was It was really good.
And it works with him as Stan Lee or him as a bus driver. It worked.
Now it's time for the post-credits. Get out your fucking checkbook moment.
Boom bep. I'm just kidding. Get out your fucking checkbook.
All right, our post-credit scene opens with Maria Hill and Nick Fury driving through New York, and I think it's in New York. Do you guys think it's
so,
New
too.
York? I mean, it's actually Atlanta.
Does it matter where
It
it's at?
doesn't matter. When a Suburban swerves and crashes in front of them. Then we notice a helicopter flies into a building. Next, we see Maria Hill and a few background characters turn to ash before Nick himself begins to turn to ash while he pulls out a beeper. Gotta pull that beeper
And then
out.
he ends up in. Okay,
He hits up Captain Marvel. He's like, yo, fam, let's do this.
You left at the part where they cut him off mid-sentence. He goes,
And says the word mother before
Oh.
fading away.
I'm sorry.
I didn't miss it. I just hadn't gotten there yet.
Which is, of course, like, you know, how great would it be as a person, just as an individual, but when people think, well, Danny Kilpatrick, DKP, they think the word motherfucker gets associated with it immediately. I would love to be that person, and Sam Jack is living that life.
To me, you are that person.
Thank you.
You are my
Shout out to
motherfucker.
Pev's mom.
You're living your dream, man.
Whoa. Talking about... Never mind. All right. So this is supposed to be where we go to the outro.
See, you pushed it too far, you fucking dickhead.
I did. No, that's on me.
Let's move it forward.
We're supposed to talk. This is where we're supposed to go to the outro, but we're not going to the outro, motherfuckers. I get it. You're looking at your watches and you're saying, "I've been at this podcast all day.
How
I'm
dare
tired of
you
recording."
Insinuate I wear a wristwatch.
And we've touched on it a little bit already. Let's speculate what's going to happen in part 2. Who wants to go first?
So, one of two things is going to happen. Either the old guard is going to have to step up and save all the new #new Avengers, or they're going to replace all the new Avengers with their alternate counterparts. So they will either have the old Avengers save the new Avengers and probably die in the process, or we're gonna get what's his name, the other Spider-Man,
Miles Morales.
or we're gonna get Miles Morales, and we're gonna get yeah, I'm sorry, that story just does not work.
If peeing, you pee.
It's really only gonna be
Yeah.
I think to support the thing is that they're all gonna figure out a way to get them back, and the old Avengers are gonna have to either sacrifice their souls to resurrect them, and that's gonna be the thing. Is it's a build up to that moment, and they like get their hands on the gauntlet, and they whether they have to restore the power or really whatever that is, but they're all gonna be like, okay, it's it's time. We had a good run.
I got what I think, because I really have no idea how they're gonna wrap this up. So I'll listen to your theories, but I'll tell you the lamest way they could legitimately do it. If they had Tony Stark build a mechanical, legitimate time machine. He's like, we're gonna go back in time,
And it's a
and we're gonna
DeLorean.
shoot Thanos while he's on the fucking crapper or something, like how they talk about in Austin Powers 2. And he's like, you just don't get it, do you? That's the Marvel execs, but that would be the lamest way to do it.
So you make a joke about that, but I do think that we're gonna get some time traveling Doctor Strange. So we have the Captain Marvel coming. I feel like Doctor Strange is gonna show up in like Flash did in the DC
Flashpoint.
universe, in not Flashpoint, but he like showed up and said, Lois is the answer, blah blah blah. I feel like Doctor Strange is going to show up and he's going to go, okay, Captain Marvel, you got to get ready for this, this, and this. And
I think it's going to be much more subtle than that if that happens.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm really worried about. I'm really worried that the disappearance of all these characters doesn't mean the end for those characters, but it means the end for all the other characters. And if that is the case, if what actually is going to happen is that Tony and Hulk and I have the list. Hold on.
Hulk is the one that I just don't believe.
So here's who's left: Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, War Machine, Nebula, Rocket, Okoye. It seems to me that in order for everyone else to move forward, that all of these characters have to stop.
Yeah.
That all of these characters have to stop existing. And it takes away, if this is how it plays out, then it totally takes away from all of their deaths.
Mm-hmm.
It makes, so like Rocket, let's say it's a full reversal. Rocket's death, I don't want to know that Rocket is going to die.
Me
And
either.
I don't know that Rocket's going to die now. But if this starts to play out like it looks like it's going to play out, then like, and all of these characters I just named off are the ones who are going to like sacrifice themselves or do whatever it takes to bring everybody else back, then it lessens their actual death to me. It lessens the, when there is permanence death, like actual permanence death in this film, it will not be as impactful if it is some sort of correlation of how they have to save everyone else.
I agree 100%.
I feel like it's very similar to like in it's like in video games, right? Where you're like you're playing Max Payne, and like in the game you're killing hundreds of people, you're shot hundreds of times, but there's that very distinct way you get shot in a cutscene, and it's like, ugh, and it's like don't do that for this, like to where it's like, yeah, these characters clearly aren't dead, but like the ones who just got regular ass stabbed, oh, they're definitely dead. I feel like it's gonna be that way, and that kind of bums me out a bit.
Me too.
Taylor, do you have any predictions or guesses or ideas about the next film?
No, I just it's more a hope. I mean, with how Captain Marvel is coming about, like just that she is gonna be beyond integral to it, in that it's not the cop out of, the lesson to death sacrifice situation. I mean, I just like please, for the love of God, just nail this. Like
I wanna be
it's
wrong
not even.
so
I
bad.
don't have a prediction. I just have a request. Please, for the love of God, don't fuck this up.
I just think Sentinel should come in and fuck everyone up and leave. That
I'm
or
okay with that.
or where the fuck's Man Thing, Peb?
Man Thing is nowhere and
Man Thing
everywhere.
is it's tragic. We did
Man
not
Thing
get a
is
Man
love. Man Thing is life. Idify, what do you think?
So, with that being said about Captain Marvel, I think, which is weird, that she might have disappeared. We never know, but obviously that's not going to happen. I think she's going to come to Earth. The heroes on Earth are going to rally, and then Stark and Nebula, they're going to get back to Earth, and I think they're going to head to wherever the fuck Thanos is. And we know one character who's been almost successfully close at killing Thanos. That's Nebula. She's going to know where he's at. They're going to steal that gauntlet, and they're going to get everybody back on board. And not only that, we're finally going to see fucking Hawkeye and Ant-Man, which has been missed in this whole movie.
Ant-Man's in the movie, dude. He's everywhere. He's everywhere and nowhere. I'm just kidding. Festus, what do you think?
I definitely think that we're going to get scenes with the characters that have disappeared inside the Soul Stone, possibly trying to figure out a way to escape.
That's cool. I like that. I mean, I don't know if I like it.
I don't know if I like it.
I don't know
but
if I like it.
I think that's where
But-
it's going to be going.
Like
I like your theory.
Like Spider-Man living out his perfect life, and then he figures out, oh, this can't be real. I must be in some sort of.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Captain Marvel being like 50 or 60 years old, and she's like, she's watching fucking Drew Carey's, was it Price is Right, and then she gets like, oh, that's my beeper, and does the old lady shuffle and gets up and like holds a small of her back. Hold on, I gotta go get that. She's like stepping over cats and stuff, and she's like, oh Jesus, I gotta assemble now. It just seems really weird. Like, out of all things, the best way you get a hold of is a beeper. Still, it's like, I got that's my beeper.
I don't feel that it's a beeper, quote unquote.
Shut up!
No,
It's a beeper.
it's a straight up
Get
beeper.
Get the fuck out of here! It's a beeper.
It's a
all right?
cosmic beeper.
I'm about to say, I liked what you said, where you think she's out in space doing her own thing.
Yeah, I think she's out there. And like,
I missed
the
that part.
question-
That sounds
the question
more,
is-
more possible.
It's more possible than her being
That sounds
watching
very-
The Price is Right.
when
Old
Festus
crazy
and I were
Carey's
talking
Price is
about it,
Right.
and I was like, oh, she's gonna be doing what Goku does at the end of Dragon Ball Z. Sorry to get extra nerdy for you boys, but at the end of Dragon Ball Z, Goku just like leaves. I mean, he goes to train with someone, but he leaves his family, he leaves everyone to go into space for like a decade and train or however long.
I find it really funny, and then I'll shut completely up so you can move on after this. But I find it really funny you bring up Dragon Ball Z because I've wanted to bring it up so many times. This thing, every time like Goku dies, it's like he's not really dead. He's in the spirit world where he has his own little bit going on, but he'll be back. Like, that's how I felt about this movie in spades.
Could Goku beat this incarnation of the Scarlet Witch?
This one,
This one,
absolutely.
yes.
Yes. All right. There we go.
But I think he might have some trouble with Thanos.
Definitely
Hey,
with the
discussion for another
we
day.
need to move on
we
quickly.
need to move on before we're talking for hours.
Very quickly. Let's move this forward.
I think it would be really cool to see the Soul Stone and everybody living in the Soul Stone universe.
The
And, like,
Soul Stone.
what would be really awesome is because all of these characters, all of these new characters, the Black Panthers and the Doctor Stranges and all this, they've kind of existed in all the other Avengers world. So it would be cool to have moments in the new one where they are in the Soul Stone and they are forced to work together and they are forced to get to know each other
that's
and
true.
they are established as a team.
That
by
seems
the
like
time
a
this movie ends.
that seems like a trilogy type thing, though.
Yeah, but you have them work together as a team, so that way when you're going into whatever is post this, then you know that like Tony Stark is no longer Peter Parker's like moral compass. He can successfully move on in terms of like he can hit up T'Challa,
Yeah.
or he can hit up Doctor Strange, or he can hit up like there are different avenues by which these characters can work within each other
I wanna
because they get a whole movie to like work together.
I want a Doctor Strange Peter Parker
Me too.
mentorship. Like, you,
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
I didn't even know I wanted that, but yeah.
But
I
that's
think
right
that-
out of the old comic books, and I'm all about it.
I think everyone should be mentored by Doctor Strange. It's like he's the only person who fucking gets the severity of anything. But yeah,
Hulk seemed like he got the severity of the situation.
let's
this
not
time
let's
around.
not let's not bring up Hulk.
Anybody have any closing thoughts or anything? Oh, I do want to say, if you're listening to this show and you made it this far, you're a motherfucking champion. Let us know in the comments what you think. Also, let us know in the comments if you want us to do this more. But I'm going to be honest, we're probably going to do it anyway. Even if you're like, no, I don't want any more of this. Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out in July. We have Captain Marvel and then Infinity War or whatever, Part 2, Untitled Avengers 4. We have that coming in next year.
I want everyone to picture after this podcast we fade away like the leaves.
We have,
and then, we'll be back for at least Ant-Man, so it's like, it's not gonna bum anyone out because we'll be back.
It's all good.
I really like doing this with you boys, and I appreciate you guys being involved in it. It's been a ton of fun. So I really
hey man, this led up.
I really want to continue doing it.
Absolutely, this led up to Peb getting jerked off at the movies by Taylor.
What else
I think
could
that's
I ask
the most
for?
rad thing that's ever happened in my life, and I was only 2 seats away. I didn't even see it, but I was happy to be there for it.
So I wanted
Thanks
to
for having
say
me.
thank you for having me on the podcast. This has been a lot of fun. It's a new experience for me, and I've really dug it.
Yeah.
Peb,
Same,
cut
well,
the shit.
see,
You're gonna
thanks as
be here
well.
for the next one too, baby.
No, all right.
You better be.
Yeah, I agree. I had a good time.
Absolutely, boys.
Festus,
Holy shit!
how's your journey been for the last 20 episodes?
It's been a blast. I mean, going and seeing Avengers with y'all was also
The
a
one
blast.
time, only having to do the one, huh?
Yeah.
Only having to do the one podcast, but I've been seeing Marvel movies with Tommy for
Yeah, we've been watching Marvel
for a
movies
long
together
time
hot
now.
minute.
Right. Tasty.
This experience has just further solidified that you're a piece of shit.
Whoa, who's a piece of shit?
He's directing that towards all of us, probably especially
No,
me.
not all of you. That's a you.
At me?
Yeah.
No, I know.
Everybody else, you've been great.
Dude, I do need to say, like, I am shocked by your Infinity War review. I thought you were going to be destroying this movie.
No, I surprisingly like. I surprisingly liked it like a lot more than I thought I would.
Sorry,
That
that was
but-
Peb's job.
But it was Peb's job.
Yeah.
But if we're being sentimental here and shit, yeah, it's been a fun ride, fellas.
It has.
Actually, I love doing the podcast. Man, some of these movies have been a slog to get through though. This one,
movie felt so long.
especially seeing it the first time was so refreshing.
It is, ironically or not, the longest MCU film.
Yeah, but it just moved.
I mean, I had to
You know
piss really bad by the end, but I enjoyed it. Was
I
that
gotta
Butterfly?
say, it was fun to be on the same page as Pev for like the first time in one of the podcasts.
Yeah, that was great.
I was gonna bring that up earlier. There's been a lot of crossover for like me and you have agreed, Tommy and Peb have agreed, me and Peb have agreed. I don't think there's ever been an instance where it's just you and Peb like being against everyone else.
I gotta say, I am totally cool with the Peb Idify team up.
Peb, you know what? Yeah, I know I was really bad on you in Guardians too, but you made up for it with this one.
Sweet.
Well, this is the new Team DKT. It's DK Tommy Taylor. You know what I'm saying? Maybe DK double T.
F for Festus.
Now Festus is just kind of here. He's all right.
I'm floating, baby.
Wait,
All right, everyone.
You guys are DTF?
I'm DTF for anything.
That's a wrap for Preparation Avengers. If there's a demand for it, we'll bring the show back for every new MCU film indefinitely until the end of time or until we're dead. Maybe our kids will take over. They will be the next Avengers, reviewing all of these films.
Peb's gonna have Shuri take over from him or whatever. All right, no, not Peb. I looked at you, Festus.
I would love to have Shuri take over.
I'm sure you would.
I love Shuri.
Don't forget to like the video. It really helps us get the word out there. Subscribe to the channel. See when our next week's episode, or I guess there's not another one next week, but the next episodes go live, which will be around the time of the next films. You can also follow us on Twitter and Twitch to watch us play video games. Our panel for the final time, Danny.
Yes, sir.
Paul.
Actually, hold on. Let me redo that.
This is an opportunity to say something. This is your last opportunity to say something. So,
Here we go. Goodbye, boys.
Paul,
It's still just me.
Alex,
Hey now.
Tasty,
Later.
Festus,
Had a blast, boys.
and I'm Thomas. And then finally, as always, Baskin Robbins always finds out.